You guys know what I've always wanted to be a part of ever since I was a kid? The animation community on YouTube. But when I started getting into the reviews, there were like 2 people, and only one of them was really good. And I had my own opinions, I had shows that I liked, but sometimes if you watch a community for a long time from afar, you start to just pick up whatever they're saying and agree with them even if you haven't seen what they're talking about, or normally don't agree with them, but you're like, oh, person I like said this, so I think that. Fast forward to now, and everyone's like, oh, okay, we can all agree that this cartoon sucks, right? Like, we all think that? No, don't speak for me. Velma isn't terrible. It's not good. Like, it's not anything. But if you think it's like the worst thing, you are clearly not watching enough cartoons if you think this is the worst one. And that took me back to when I was a wee lad. I guess I was this tall. Where I would watch a ton of shows that I thought were hilarious at the time that haven't really held up that well. I was obsessed with Johnny Test as a kid because there were a bunch of episodes where he had like a DS, but it had 7 screens, and they played like a game that was a mixture of Pokemon and Bakugan, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. I also liked his fiery attitude and funny talking dog. Yes, Chris, I'm afraid that our Brian is dead. Did you know she actually doesn't say the words, our dog Brian Griffin is dead? I thought that for like years. She doesn't actually say it like that. It's gonna be quite a different place with him gone, that's for true. What was I talking about? I proudly watched cartoons that I loved, and then 1 to 2 years passed, and I decided all of a sudden I hated them and I was too old for them because people on the internet said that was the case. I've made a lot of videos in the past about Cartoon Network, and trust me, there are more to come, don't you worry. And I made one big one about a Disney Channel show, maybe more to come in the future. That's not a hint, I'm not like teasing you, I actually don't know. I'd say now that we're in the 2020s, I'm leaning more towards Disney XD, and I'm a Disney kid. I guess I'm not a kid. I don't want to say Disney adult though, because that's got a completely different connotation. But up until that point, split between all the children's networks, I was a Cartoon Network kid. I still am a Cartoon Network kid at heart. That was my favorite. They were my ride or dies. You could tell a lot by a person by figuring out which of the 3 main channels they preferred. If they're a hub kid though, the 4th hub kid, turn and run. But back before I can form any crucial memories when I was watching Cartoon Network, I was over on the other side of the pond. I was popping off with Blue's Clues. I was getting down with Dora. I should have phrased that differently. I hate to say it, guys, if you couldn't tell by the point of the video of my epic Reptar shirt and my orange drink, and I hate to say this, I know, but this is my public apology, I started out as a Nick kid. And to be honest, while I did have favorite networks in the past, I definitely leaned towards one of the 3 more than others and would go back and forth. The reason my current brain right now is so obsessed and like anal about schedules and numbers, and I'm very like particular, like, oh, this needs to be 7:30 or like 6:15 or whatever, is because I would look up the guides, like the TV guide for all the channels throughout a day whenever I had a free day, and would make my own schedule, write an itinerary of when I needed to switch between each thing. Like, oh, they're showing Hannah Montana, I gotta see that. Ooh, Chowder's back on, go back over. Fairly Odd Parents? I'll think about it. Weirdly enough, I was the channel surfer in that scenario. We're not talking about Fairly Odd Parents today, but I gotta get all the references out now. My father once took me and my sisters to a fair because our parents just got divorced and they wanted to like do some bonding time. But I cried the whole time because Fred the movie was premiering on Nickelodeon the same night, and I really wanted to see that. Just, you know, if any of you are watching these videos and wondering why I still have so much of this TV info in my brain, I was a lonely kid. You'll notice how often I laugh when I say something terrible. And I just did it again. Oh my god. I'm really smart when it comes to children's television from 2008 to 2014, but beyond that, I know nothing about anything. 2008, I remember the most. That was when I got really obsessed, and that was the year I watched basically only Cartoon Network. But I existed prior to 2008, alright? I didn't just appear like a kid size, all right? Benjamin Button, that's not Benjamin Button style. Before getting that into Cartoon Network, I was watching stuff on Nick. And even after, I would occasionally switch back and forth if I seemed it was worth it or there was nothing on the Cartoon Network. I wasn't a huge George of the Jungle fan, so I put together the ultimate watch guide for what Nickelodeon was pushing out in mid-2006 to like around 2008. And now that I've decided that it is this year... What year is it? Now that it's the future, I've decided to look back on all those shows I watched on Nickelodeon as a kid to see if the internet is right about it only being bad and not having any good shows. Was Kid Me onto something? Have these all aged terribly? Or am I going to be blinded by nostalgia like most of the annoying people on the internet with opinions? I've narrowed it down to 6 shows I'm going to be talking about. Some that get talked about a lot, some that get talked about a little, some that are rapidly hated, some are loved and said, oh, not enough people talk about this show, but now I'm talking about it, throwing my hat in the ring. We're going to shoot for the era of 2006 to 2009. Now, Nickelodeon had different blocks and eras, just like Cartoon Network, and this isn't a specific block, but it is the time I was watching. There are, however, some exceptions that we're going to get into later. It requires a little bit more context. I know damn well you guys don't hate this entire era of television. Hating the cartoons? Maybe, but hating everything? Well, I know for a fact that there's one show that you guys never stop talking about. It's about a web show, and it's set during this time, proving a point. Without further ado, the first show I'm going to be talking about from this era of Nickelodeon is... What is that?
I believe we're getting a call.
On the TV? It can do that? I thought it only showed me Tim Allen clips when I was misbehaving.
Could we answer?
Well, who's calling?
Quinn.
Quiznos!
Oh, dope, really? I haven't eaten there forever. All right, yeah, let's answer.
This is an emergency signal. I've just been alerted that someone out there is about to analyze iCarly.
Whoa, how'd you know that?
I'll have the Lobster Classic.
Is that a talking N64 cartridge?
Oh my god, dude, he can see you! Wait, can you see me?
Listen, are you the captain?
I like to think that I am.
He's not.
Please heed my warning. Never talk about iCarly on the internet. You start things off and you think it's just gonna be an instant in your life, just a moment, and then it consumes everything. You can't do it.
What are you, some kind of iCarly guy?
What are you, some kind of total drama guy?
That was uncalled for.
Please take my advice. I have to go now and continue my journey across the multiverse to stop YouTubers from making videos about iCarly.
Okay, well, bye, human person.
Bye, Quiznos.
Bunch of freaks.
Well, that was strange. Pizza places don't often call here. We haven't actually gotten a call before. I don't know how we got this number. But regardless, don't worry, because I have a backup plan. We can't talk about iCarly, that's fine. We have another show, another sitcom I know you guys love. Instead, we're going to be talking about a little show called Victorious. Oh, we're getting another call. The goal of this video is to talk about shows that are either hated or not watched enough in the community that I'm not a part of. As much as this era as a whole has been painted as bad, it wasn't all bad things. The era itself wasn't that bad, all things considered. And we don't have enough time to talk about everything in the latter half of the 2000s, but our shows that are already popular really need me to talk about them. So I won't be talking about the stuff everyone already talks about. No Invader Zim, no TV movies, no My Life as a Teenage Robot, no Big Time Rush, and apparently no iCarly or Victorious. Somebody has those analyses covered. Also, I won't be covering H2O, Just Add Water. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but I loved this show as a kid because I lived in a predominantly female household, and that sounds like an excuse, but in reality, I would watch the show even when my sisters or mom weren't around. I got very obsessed with it, and I think I want to talk about it someday, just not now. Also, I'm not going to talk about the entirety of the Fairly Odd Parents, but I just want to do this real quick because it is technically a part of this era I'm talking about. Starting out with a hot take, I like Poof. The late 2000s is when the Fairly Odd Parents added this baby character, and people absolutely despise this character, or at least despise the episodes that took place after he was born. I don't think the show got any better, mind you, but I don't think it started to get really bad until far after Odd Baby. Is it weird that there's an MPreg scenario in this episode? As a kid, no. Why does everything gotta be a fetish? Why do we gotta sexualize every aspect of children's cartoons? I used to find farts really funny. You see a cartoon character fart and another one, you're like, oh, that's silly. And now I'm so, like, internet brain poison that every time I see that, I'm like, someone's getting off to this. Why? What is wrong with you? Log off right now. Catscratch is a 2005 cartoon about... Actually, can we just play the intro again?
Gordon and Wumble and Mr. Blink. When the old lady died, she left a bridge, a mansion, cars, ice, a kick. Catscratch!
I know it's probably a terrible thing to say at the very top of this review, but the Catscratch theme song is the best thing to come out of the Catscratch series. If the people don't remember the show, I pray at least the theme song gets stuck in their heads. It's like a forgotten memory. You hear that tune, but you don't remember what it is or where it's from. Like a past life long forgotten. Also, the title card theme sounds exactly like Tobias from Arrested Development when he's pretending to be Mrs. Featherbottom. I'm just gonna need to show you because none of that makes any sense.
There was also some Mary Poppins in there.
I watched the series in its entirety, and let me tell you, it wasn't easy. And I don't mean wasn't easy like it was particularly bad. I mean literally was not easy, because the other shows I could find on Paramount Plus, Catscratch, not so much. This show isn't on anything. It's kind of partially lost media because there are roundabout ways to watch it, but only 5 episodes out of the entire run ever made it to physical media. There has never been a Catscratch exclusive DVD, and it hasn't been on any streaming thing, at least not that I can access. Multiple episodes were spread throughout the Nick Pick series of DVDs. I mean, with enough elbow grease and ingenuity, you can watch the entire series in its entirety, which I did. It just won't be the highest quality. As I'm talking about the show, and you're probably seeing it behind me, if I show you a clip and it's in like 140p and sounds terrible, just know that that is the highest quality clip in existence. And that's a shame because the show really does have a lot to offer. All I knew about Catscratch before going into this is I remembered a handful of episodes from when I was a toddler, and that nobody really remembers the show, and it's unfortunate because it kind of got swept under the radar when it's pretty good. I assumed going into this was going to be very easy because, like, oh, no one talks about it, a bunch of them are lost, there's not going to be a lot of them. But if we're counting 11-minute segments as different episodes, this show has 40 unique episodes. That's the same amount of episodes as Mau Mau that everyone was talking about, and 9 episodes beneath Chowder, which is nothing to sneeze at. But then if that's the case, if it ran for such a long time and had a pretty good series of episodes, why does nobody talk about it? I don't know, man. Probably got something to do with the fact that it took me longer to find each individual episode than it took me to watch all of them. Anyway, shout out to Dailymotion and the Internet Archive. I couldn't have done this without them. This video you're currently watching is sponsored by low-quality re-uploads that are flipped on YouTube. Alright, that seems like enough complaining. Now we can talk about the show. Just like the theme song says, 3 cats, Mr. Blick, Gordon, and Waffle, were owned by an old rich lady who croaked and then left her fortune and butler to them to do shenanigans with. And now these brothers are put in wacky situations that they need to use their immense wealth to figure out a way out of, and mostly get out of with force. I gotta say, I know it's just like a staple of this specific era of cartoons, but this show has a lot more in common with like modern action shows than anything like comedic at the time. 95% of these episodes end with the 3 brothers all fighting something in an action sequence, and like 80% of those are them fighting a giant monster, but it's all done in a cartoony way. You know how in Mario Odyssey, a realistic dragon appears and Mario has to fight it? That happens a lot in this show. And they are brothers. I know they look very different, but they weren't all just adopted by the same old lady. It's revealed in one of the episodes that they were born to the same cat mother. We don't hear anything more about their cat mother, but she looks suspiciously more like a cat than they do. And in the rabbit episode, they go to a pet store and we see a realistic cat, implying that the cats we're following in our universe are some kind of weird cat-human hybrid. But that raises an important question. Who's the father?
I knew you were a shallow rube.
Now hold on there, laddie. That's our brother you're talking about.
That's not my fault.
Yes, it is, Father!
No, Andrew, you said you weren't going to break down shows into theories anymore. You're not a theory channel. Don't give in to them. That's what they want. It's revealed in a later episode that the old lady that owned them had a bunch of miscellaneous robot parts hidden in her basement. Something to think about. The fact that this show is so violent in a very cartoony way has led people to compare it to a different show, but we'll get into that later. For right now, let's talk about the characters. Waffle, the random LOL XD dumb 2000s character. I sound way more mad about this than it is. I think that's just like the official name. If you know what I'm talking about, this character, hey look, it's Gurr. Waffle is funny, like legitimately. He tends to get the group into trouble with his lack of knowledge and love of newts, but he does have occasional spurts of intellect where he for some reason knows the definition of a bunch of different objects, which you think would mean he at least has read a dictionary, but it's revealed later that he cannot in fact read. Aside from his stupidity, his episodes, the episodes that revolve around him, tend to follow this theme of identity. One episode, he feels ostracized from his brother and other cats because he's the only one among them who hasn't caught a mouse. Another episode, he takes a personality test and believes he's more suited to be a dog. And then in a later episode, he's tricked into thinking he's an evil mastermind, and he gets some henchmen and a vat of acid. He's a very complex character.
No, Gomez. My destiny is to walk the dark path. And it's a path I must walk alone.
He also, has a Germa catchphrase.
Shmee! What happened? Everybody alright?
And yes, you heard that correctly. He is, in fact, the voice of Pleakley from Lilo and Stitch. I mean, as an underrated cartoon, the cast is pretty stacked. You got Pleakley, you got Newman from Seinfeld, you got Rob Paulson doing a Scottish accent. But don't you worry, the Yakko voice does make an appearance in the show.
The lost mothership! We found her! We're going to be heroes!
Multiple times.
Here's supper! Here's supper!
Let's use this opportunity to move on to Gordon, the Scottish cat with a Scottish accent. While Waffle's episodes focus on identity, Gordon's episodes focus on his apparent culture and romantic pursuit of the human girl that lives next door. Okay, remember before when I said these kid cartoons are pure of heart? Like, a huge amount of the show's run, the episodes are about Gordon liking Kimberly. Like, a lot of episodes. I did not remember this from my childhood. Some would say I chose to forget. He'll do anything for her, like replacing her rabbit with a sickly one after he believes he accidentally killed it. Fighting his own brothers over her. Yes, they have other cats also romantically interested in her sometimes. So if you ever woke up in a cold sweat and really wanted to see Newman from Seinfeld fawn after Panini from Chowder, it's the show for you. And he even changed the cosmic makeup of the universe after jamming her unicorn project into the core of the planet, thus changing the genetic makeup of every creature and object on the planet, and Mr. Blick becomes a stuffed animal.
Look at me! I'm a potted plant! I changed the makeup of the Earth's core so human Kimberly wouldn't get an F on her science project. Well, turn it back! My eye! No!
It's worth noting that I am very intelligent, and I took a writing class once. There's an episode later in the run where it's revealed that Mr. Blick himself has a secret stuffed animal that's missing the exact same eye that he loses. What could this mean? Well, if you were part of the Steven Universe community when the show was coming out, this obviously means that by the end of the series, Mr. Blick is definitely going to lose one of his eyes for sure. 100%, it is confirmed it's going to happen. Just a matter of time. I guess the whole romantic attraction wouldn't be that weird for a cartoon if they were just like boys. They don't need to be cat boys, although that would explain the maid outfit, Catboy maid outfit. This show is ahead of its time. And don't get me wrong, I love the cat designs. If you show me any cartoon, I will always prefer creature designs over humans. However, very little of the show has to do with them being cats. I mean, there are a couple episodes about catching mice and shedding and losing a tail, but I mean, the show's called Catscratch. Moving on to the final brother, Mr. Blick. He's the egotistical leader. Most of his plots involve him trying to win something, to prove his authority, and make people respect him. Like the first episode I watched where they go to the moon to help him win a rib cook-off. Also, for all the people who liked the previous video and are a little disappointed that I'm not talking about Portal 2 right now, the plot of this episode involves them going to the moon to get moon rocks. I rest my case. He wants to have the scariest house on Halloween. He wants to get into the exclusive country club. He wants to be the king of root beer.
Mr. Blick has a tiny little lead.
Naturally, for I am the king!
Naturally, for I am the Dayman!
Those characters surprisingly have a lot in common, actually. I thought initially that I only remembered little bits of the show from when I was a kid, but it turns out this show imprinted a lot more on me than I thought. You know how some cartoons have their signature drink or food that everyone loves, like Purple Flurp or Slurm? Well, the drink of choice for these Catboy brothers is root beer. Like multiple call to actions for multiple episodes involves getting more root beer. Post 2007, after I forgot this show existed, I loved root beer. It's all I would drink. I'm still a big root beer guy. Oh, which one's better, Mug or Barks? How about they're both great for different scenarios? You need to drink in very specific time slots, all right? I put a lot of thought into what I drink. This is orange flavored because all I remembering is the episode where Gordon turns into an awful, horrific monster because he's holding on to broccoli that he is allergic to but doesn't want to get rid of because the human girl he likes gave it to him. I have some kind of superpower, or potentially a weakness, that lets me remember very specific episodes of television and what was happening around me while I was watching it. I remember very specific snapshots. Let me paint you a picture. Halloween night. I'm a kid, I'm dressed up in my cute little costume, I'm waiting for my parents to get ready so we can go trick-or-treating, go out, get some candy. I switch on the TV, there's Halloween episodes, there's spooky episodes on the TV, I'll continue to watch them while I wait. I see the beginning of this episode, I see my beloved best cat friend turn into a monster against his will. I leave to go trick-or-treating. I never see the end of that episode. As far as I know, right now, Gordon could still be that awful, terrifying monster. You're probably starting to understand why I remember this so vividly. Anyway, check out my childhood trauma video, where I talk about the same thing over and over. The cool thing about the internet is I can find like-minded individuals that are equally obsessed with all this stuff as I was as a kid, making schedules in my room, that they have archived all these schedules for what episodes were airing on which days for like decades. So I looked from the year 2005, when the show started, onward to see which Halloween I was remembering. So it turns out, by going back through those schedules, there is only one time, one night, where that episode of Catscratch aired that landed on Halloween in 2005, when I was 4. I think Catscratch may be my first memory ever. Catscratch is what helped me gain consciousness, and I will never forgive them for that. That's insane, actually. I'm kind of painting over it like it's a joke. That's crazy, right? No wonder I'm obsessed with cats and root beer. This video has now gained an aura of importance. I'm unraveling my past. Anyway, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because by Halloween 2005, there was already an actual Halloween episode of Catscratch. Why didn't they show that one? Like, why'd you show the broccoli one? Why would you do that to the little baby me? And I don't mean like, oh, just another spooky episode. The episode, not the broccoli one, though, it takes place on Halloween, and they didn't show it. It's the one where aliens invade, not to be confused with the episode where they go to space, or to be confused with the episode where they have to help a race of alien slugs, or to be confused with the episode where they fight a race of krakens that are from space, or the episode, you know what, Catscratch universe is bigger than I thought. They go to space more times than they go to the country club. I got a pitch for you, though, if you want to bring the show back. Catscratch in space. The Galactic Catscratch. I mean, it makes sense. You got a Lilo and Stitch voice actor, and the show was created by the creator of Earthworm Jim. We'll get into that. Let's circle back to that Kraken episode, because this is the exact moment I realized how violent the show was. Like, I don't care. The more the better. I'm not gonna, like, clutch my pearls and be like, oh my, I can't believe I watched this, because whatever. But they blow through this Kraken's head and, like, it explodes. This show is hardcore.
Come on, gang. Let's go find something else to destroy that we don't understand.
It's also the episode we get to see these gorgeous splatter backgrounds when the camera zooms in on the cats' faces. Wait a minute, 3 boys, one of them is the schemer, one of them is cartoonishly dumb. There's splatter backgrounds, a lot of the show consists of them beating each other up. Where have I heard that before? Anyway, a lot of reviewers always drop in the little nugget about the show that it's very derivative and similar of Ed, Edd n Eddy, but I think the show, Catscratch, has enough differentiating factors that make it stand out. For one, the Ed boys aren't rich. If they were, the show would be over. It would solve every single one of their problems. That being said, I'm gonna assume all the reviewers that said this only got to episode 3, the first of many unicorn episodes. Gordon wants to convince the neighbor human that he saw a real-life unicorn so that she'll like him more. Waffle agrees to help immediately because he likes Gordon and always likes to help out his brothers. The way they convince Mr. Blick to help is by convincing him that he can use footage of cryptids to scam people, which is not something brought up in any other episode. Mr. Blick wants to be respected and revered. He doesn't care about scamming people. He doesn't need the money. That's not what the show is about. So to be fair, if someone saw only this episode, then their review is correct. This is incredibly derivative of Ed, Edd n Eddy. But any other episode, that's not true. They just added Mr. Blick liking to scam people as like a character trait for 11 minutes and then didn't bring it up again. You know, dumb guy, smart guy, schemer. Classic trio. By the way, whenever I do reviews like this, when I'm watching a show for the first time and don't really remember it, I like to watch other people's reviews after I've written my stuff to see what other people are thinking or if I missed anything, and I didn't really find any reviews for this show. I did, however, stumble across creepypasta. What you're listening to right now, that little ditty, is Catscratch Lost Episode Credits.avi. Pretty spooky. I also came across what I think is a reading of the creepypasta.
Yeah, I was an intern at Nickelodeon. I brought in the pizzas and ordered the pencils and did unspeakable things under the desk snort below that I don't want to talk about right now.
Alright, let's move on. Now we have thoroughly explored our main characters, but there are so many more. I mean, look at the theme song. There's old friends and new friends and even a bear. This bear shows up predominantly in like the first couple episodes of the series. There are a bunch of little ones hidden in a secret universe in a secret room in their house, but I don't think it's related to this bear. His last appearance, he becomes a kaiju and uses actual Godzilla voice lines. Which I thought was pretty freaking epic. But just know that this bear, because he's in the opening credits, is technically an important character. That being said, he doesn't talk at all, and there are a lot of characters that appear way more frequently than him that aren't in the opening. There's these neighbor kids that the cats have a rivalry with, and of course their whole thing is that they're neighbors. They live next door to them. That's what neighbors means. And I know the show doesn't have any continuity, but the first episode, I watched them in like, I think I did watch them in the right order, maybe. But the first episode, these neighbor kids show up, they lose their house, and then the episode ends. So they don't live there anymore. And then every episode after that, it's like, oh, it's our least favorite neighbors. No, it's your least favorite homeless people. I really did try to watch these in order, and I think I watched the first half all in order, but after that, I was just at the mercy of which episode I could find that day. Our last side character, aside from Hovis, I forgot to talk about Hovis. Hovis is their butler, and also their slave because, I mean, he's getting paid, but he can't leave because the old lady owned him, so now he has to wait on hand and foot for these cats. And normally in a show like this, it would reveal that, like, oh man, he hates them, but deep down, he really does care for the cats. I don't think that's true here. Like, he seems to, at best, tolerate them, and at worst, actively hate them. There's an episode where he pretends to be their dead owner to scare them into being his servants. The last Hovis episode, before the show ends, is about the cats finding out he was in a band, and then getting his old band together, and then they realize that their music sucks.
You guys stink! Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But I don't know. By the end of that episode, they kind of reconcile with each other. Maybe Hovis doesn't love the cats, but they love him. And he at least recognizes that no matter what, they're family. So back to what I was saying, the latter half of this series was watched in what I like to call willy-nilly order. One of the last episodes I watched was an episode titled Catilda, starring this titular character, Catilda, which is a hilarious name. It sounds like an Oni Plays bit. She's kind of a love interest for Mr. Blick, which is good because the last character Mr. Blick was interested in was the human girl, and I much prefer two cats getting together. I say the human girl. Her name is Kimberly, but they always refer to her as the human Kimberly. Like, even in sentences where it doesn't make sense, like, oh, the human Kimberly's over there. Go talk to the human Kimberly. Every single time. I'm convinced that's her full name. It's like in the Thumb movie where they keep calling the Jawas freaky little hooded creatures and refuse to stop doing it. Rob Paulson just follows me everywhere. So Catilda, she appears in what seems like a one-off appearance in her episode to fight off what the cats believe is a monster but is actually a truck. Classic Catscratch. That was the fourth to last episode I watched, and then that episode ends, right? Third to last episode goes on as normal, and then the second to last episode I watched, Catilda shows up again. Like, they probably wanted her to be a reoccurring character, but the order I watched, she just appears very quickly at the end, and then they're like, oh, never mind, what was that? Like, you blink and you miss it. It's possible they had way more plans for this show, which if that is the case, then this is yet another example of Nickelodeon pulling the plug on a show before its time, when the show creators still had a lot more stories to tell. And if that is the case, then it's a shame, because Catscratch is a pretty decent show. It has a pretty decent hidden gem of 40 unique episodes. Like, when you hear season 1, like, oh man, it ended after season 1, it seems like nothing, but the show ran for multiple years and produced 40 11-minute segments, which all equal about 10 hours worth of content. That's nothing to sneeze at. Maybe this video will revitalize interest in Catscratch on the internet. I actually don't know what kind of reach I have, probably not that much, but if it does, Nickelodeon still won't bring it back like they do for all their 90s shows and other shows that ran for double-digit seasons. Remember in the half-year catch-up and childhood trauma where I said I wouldn't talk about Fairly Otter because everyone else was already talking about it? I'm like, okay, that's the only thing I won't watch. It's being removed off Paramount Plus, meaning that it won't exist anywhere else, and if no one archives it, it'll just be lost media, and the only proof that it exists is all those reviews that everyone made at the same time. I really missed the boat. I'm easy to please, okay? I don't need more Catscratch, but maybe someday we'll see an actual digital release of the episodes in their highest quality, because the way I watched it is probably not the ideal way to watch it. If there's anything we can glean from any of this, it's appreciate what you have before it's gone. And I'm sure Doug TenNapel, creator of the show, is doing just fine. I mean, he was doing fine before the show when he was working on his comic. Prior to Catscratch's release, Doug TenNapel was working on a graphic novel titled Gear. And you may notice some characters maybe look a little similar. And also the giant monster truck they drive around in Catscratch, that's also named Gear, presumably after the novel. Check out this sick animation bit where they park the car in the middle of the frame and then walk in from the right. Wow, how strange. And I can show that bit because Nickelodeon doesn't care about this show. If you're watching this video right now and some of the clips I showed were a very deep red color, that's because Viacom, parent company of Nickelodeon, is notoriously strict with their properties. And don't worry, it probably will impact stuff later. Regardless, I'm looking for more wacky Catscratch content. I liked the whole show I watched. It was a pretty good show if you couldn't tell by this whole review. I liked it. I had fun. And now I'm kind of feeling a Catscratch drought. I got Catscratch fever. So why don't we look inside this comic, in this goofy little comic, to get some goofy little Catscratch content. Gordon, we gotta go. I can't find me knife. Hurry, cut my tail off. I found me knife. Simon! I killed Simon. Simon! I'm sorry, Simon. I didn't mean to kill you. You could not help it. A dead guppy? Yes, Waffle. Simon sent me to thank you. Can't believe a dead talking fish, but if you see Simon, tell him I already miss him. I came so close to saving him. Gordon, can't do anything about it now. Oh, yes, we can. In me grandfather's clan, we spoke of blood rage. Shwink! Yeah! Happy blood raging, you know it. Wah! Someone's coming out. Ah! Bad dog. Ah! Huh? Eek! Get off my guardian. You killed my pal. What? That was your friend I just squashed? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to squash him. I meant to pull his legs off, then squash him. My hat! That was chapter 1. Chapter 2 starts like this. Starting to think this comic's a little different from the show. Am I reading the right cat book? Did I accidentally buy Warrior Cats fanfiction? And that was Catscratch. Speaking of Nickelodeon canceling a show before its prime.
Making fiends, Venetta's always making fiends, while Charlotte makes friends.
There are most likely two separate groups watching this video right now. They clicked on, ooh, forgotten Nickelodeon shows, are either people already in the animation community that know all these stories they're told over and over about these shows that were dealt a shit hand. It's like, oh, I want to see more people talk about these shows. I know the deal. I know what happens. And the other half are people that remember these shows from their childhood very loosely and kind of want to figure out what they actually were. Enter Making Fiends. Making Fiends was a Nicktoons exclusive cartoon that ran from October 2008 to November 2008. But before that, it was a monthly updated Flash cartoon that ran for multiple years, created by Amy Winfrey. Nearly 2 years of monthly unique stylistic Flash cartoons eventually caught the attention of Nickelodeon, who wanted to pick up this web show for their network. The show was picked up to begin production around 2004, meaning after running online for 2 years, it then got picked up and entered production for 4, which is a production cycle of 6 years, until premiering on the channel and running for 1 month. During this development period, Amy would create new episodes of the Flash version of the show, and Nickelodeon would upload them to their website. And the clips themselves got pretty popular. It ran for a month on Nickelodeon's secondary channel, Nicktoons, and then was canceled immediately. And you want to hear the coolest fun part about this situation is that because Nickelodeon premiered the show and made their own version and bought it out, they now own the rights to the show, meaning that Amy cannot make any more episodes of Making Fiends, a series she worked on for 6 years, ran on that channel for a month, and now she does not own anymore. Yay! If you follow the community, you've probably heard this story. If you haven't and you're hearing that for the first time, I imagine you are equally as frustrated as I was when I first heard that. Because there is that small subsect of you that vaguely remember Making Fiends in the very back of your head and came to this video to discover that it was in fact real. The series itself, all the episodes together, is barely 2 hours long, and I remember seeing the show as a kid in a marathon. And at the time, like I said, I researched TV, I knew a decent amount about it. I had seen marathons of other shows and had assumed, because I saw other marathons, oh, they don't marathon every episode of a show, they just do some of them. So beyond this marathon, there's probably more episodes I haven't seen. Nope. Sometime between October 2008 and November 2008, I caught every single one of these episodes airing back to back, and then it never showed up again. And because the show was canceled, meaning that the amount of people who would have seen the show is very slim, I spent years after that trying to prove to people that it was real, to no avail. I brought this up to my friends, because I really liked the show, and they told me I either made it up or was misremembering. I got gaslit when I was like 7. I don't think it was intentional, but still. But it does exist. I watched the entire show. Again, it only took me 2 hours. On the bright side, unlike Catscratch and maybe some other shows we're about to talk about, this show has been uploaded on YouTube in its entirety in the highest quality possible. So really, you don't even need to listen to me talk about it. You could shut off this video right now. Go watch Making Fiends and then come back here. Or don't. I don't know. I can't tell you what to do. This video may actually be longer. Just like I did when I was a kid, I watched all the episodes in one sitting back to back over 2 hours, but unlike when I was a kid, now I have a captive audience. I'm gonna talk about this show for a long time, but there's nothing you can do to stop me. Making Fiends really only has 2 main characters, Vendetta and Charlotte. Vendetta has the ability to make these monsters called Fiends, hence the name. And I gotta say, I love when different properties have different names for their monsters. Like if you watch an old-timey movie and they call every vampire a Dracula, or some anime where they call every demon a devil, like the devil from the Bible.
This is the Bible.
Vendetta has run this nice clam town into a depressing wasteland. In any other show, the lack of background music would be a cause for complaint, but in this show, it's purposeful. It really adds to the atmosphere. It's supposed to be unsettling. She has everyone, the kids and the adults, all around her finger. She's got the perfect life. She rules over everyone until one day, Charlotte comes to town. Charlotte's attitude is always chipper, which annoys Vendetta, and she always accidentally tends to thwart Vendetta's plans. But Charlotte isn't trying to stop her. She just really, really, really wants to be her friend. Maybe more than a friend. Because in my research of the show, beyond watching the show, because again, only 2 hours, I realized that there is still an active community for this show. And you guys know me. I don't ever try and engage with shipping material. That is a losing battle. But come on.
Vendetta. That's a pretty name.
Like, guys.
Oh, never mind. She's so mysterious, but nice.
I may be starting to get convinced a little bit.
Your statue is so pretty, Vendetta. What? And it's so fun to swing from your pretty elbow. Whee! Whee!
Like, they had to have known what they were doing, right? Like, this can't be an accident.
It's okay, Vendetta. Since you're already the mommy, I'll be the daddy. We can spend all our time together, like one big happy family. What?
We see Vendetta's parents twice. The second time, they've already met Charlotte, but Charlotte takes them on a nice little picnic to get to know them more. And when Charlotte meets her parents for the first time, they say Vendetta talks about her very often. This doesn't impact the quality of the show at all, alright, for better or for worse. And maybe I'm just letting the internet convince me, but I don't know. I stand by... No, I think so. I think it's cute. Just something about the dynamic of bubbly new girl meets up with a bully with green hair who initially really hates her, but then through her kindness starts to kind of fall for her. Anyway, you guys should check out The Owl House.
I was adopted when I was 2. My parents spoiled me rotten often.
Did you know that there is another show that has a very, very active shipping community, but the show is all about kids in a classroom, and the community ships the kids together? Do you know what that show is? I want you to listen to these two characters' voices real quick.
The new student. Yes, take a seat.
My shin!
What did you think you are doing?
Nothing. Just humming.
This might be a stretch, okay, but when watching this, these two sound a lot like Mr. Mackey and Butters, right? Hey, computer, what show did Amy get her start on before making Fiends? I rest my case. I don't know what my case was, but I love saying that. There's an episode where they morph together and share a body, like that Futurama episode. And SpongeBob, which is interesting because from the outside, seeing these two, it seems like that's a SpongeBob and Squidward situation. But if you actually watch the show, Charlotte doesn't make anyone's lives any better. Like, normally in a show like this, you would see Charlotte come to town and slowly bring happiness into a bleak world, but that isn't even what happens. All she does is make Vendetta's life worse. She almost gets her killed multiple times. We get some episodes from the perspective of the side characters later, and Charlotte makes their lives worse, like, definitely. In the final episode of the series, there's this girl, Marion, who has been planning her escape from Vendetta and from the town for months, and the only reason her plans are thwarted is because Charlotte keeps accidentally ruining her plan. And because of this, Marion then wants to kill her as much as Vendetta does. Here's a little tip that you guys can look out for if you're watching cartoons in the future. If at any point a cartoon is talking about a human person and says, I want to destroy them, it means that they wanted to put, I want to kill them, or I want them dead, but the censors were like, no, you could put destroy though.
But Vendetta, what can I do if a kitty is stranded up high and I want to get it down?
You could shoot it! With a water gun.
Once you start noticing it, you're never gonna stop. Nickelodeon already had Invader Zim prior to this show, so they were not strangers to dark children's shows. But I think the difference is where Invader Zim is a lot more zany, Making Fiends is more melancholy. If Invader Zim is Resident Evil 4, then Making Fiends is Silent Hill 1. I refuse to elaborate. There's another episode where Charlotte gets Marvin Butters in trouble with Vendetta, even though it's 100% her fault. And then at the end, when Charlotte has her fiend take him away to presumably kill him, Charlotte doesn't stand up for him. Like, she's not like, hey, don't kill him. She just, alright, yeah, take him, who cares? It's one of the last episodes of the series, and I can't remember if we see Marvin again, so I'm just gonna assume they killed him, and it's Charlotte's fault. The episode I mentioned earlier as, like, shipping material, where Charlotte takes Vendetta's parents out, she kind of also kidnaps and tortures them. Like, they're in a lot of pain. I'm just saying that maybe Charlotte and Vendetta have a lot more in common than they think. There's an episode where Charlotte gets sad and Vendetta drops her mean girl persona only for her to try and cheer her up. I'm gonna move on, but I think it's cute. Also, yeah, I didn't mention that Vendetta's parents were tiny, because you can see that. It's actually a nice little piece of continuity, because a later episode, we find out that Vendetta has a slug that can shrink things that she presumably used on her parents. We aren't ever told that she shrunk her parents, but we could put two and two together.
Not by chance.
Charlotte leads to the townspeople being equally as, if not more miserable than before she was there. But there is another side character-centric episode where she really doesn't have any involvement. Mr. Milk is a character wrought with constant anxiety. Whether this is actually because his life is in constant danger is up for debate. Vendetta gifts him a toupee, and at first it seems like just a normal hairpiece, but then as he goes out on the town, it begins to speak. Not only does it speak, but it speaks with confidence, far more confidence than Mr. Milk normally has. It gets the bank manager on his side and maybe getting something good out of it. It finally gets him a date with the dream girl he's always wanted to ask out. Mr. Milk then goes home and thanks the toupee for how much better his life has gotten in this very short stint. The toupee asks him what he really wants, and Mr. Milk breaks into song and does a whole sequence about what he wants out of life. Once Mr. Milk puts all his faith in this toupee, that the toupee can make his life better, the toupee tells him he can get him everything he wants, he just needs to do one thing. He needs to kill one of his students, Charlotte. This episode throws you for multiple loops because as soon as he gets the toupee, it's from Vendetta, so you're like, okay, well, clearly something bad is going to happen. But it only makes his life better, and then you start to think, oh, maybe it's sentient on its own, or maybe Vendetta messed up somehow? What's going on? And then the show drops the bombshell that she actually made this toupee to manipulate her mentally ill loner teacher into killing a child, her adversary Charlotte, for her, and he considers doing it for like a decent amount of time. This show rocks. I'm not saying I know why Nickelodeon canceled the show, I'm just saying I might have a hypothesis. Mr. Milk makes the moral decision and tosses his toupee fiend into the ocean, where it can't drown but also can't swim because it doesn't have any limbs, so it will sit at the bottom of the ocean for presumably eternity. We get a pre-credit scene of the hair landing on top of an octopus and beginning to manipulate him to go back to the surface and wreak havoc, and then we fade to black. So this is Little Shop, right? Like, we're doing Little Shop. Like, this is the plot of Little Shop of Horrors. Even down to the song. Although the song does have more in common with Sweeney Todd. Not only do I love the locations and all the individual little side characters as well as the main characters and just atmosphere of the whole thing, but also this, for being such a short series, it has a pretty good episode to original song ratio. And if you know me, which you don't, you know I love a good musical cartoon. My song ranking from worst to best is Onion Song, Business Song, Vegetable Song, Swiss Banker Song from this episode, Family Song, Pretend to Have Fun Song, and Butterfly Song. The Butterfly Song is my favorite because it features Marvin, and I love his silly little voice.
Cheese is better with your best friend. Cheddar's nicer when there are two. Cheese is best when you can share. Squeeze is better with me and you.
I didn't even mention my favorite side character, Malachi, who doesn't get an episode about him, but he just, like, talks funny.
Beware yon playground! 'Tis infested with fiends! What dost thou want with me? I knoweth not, for she be small, nay higher than a steamed clam.
It's very easy to make me love a character, just make him sound weird. What else? I need to make this section longer than the show somehow. I like that Charlotte always responds to stupid girl.
Dear stupid girl, that's me. Free gumdrops for stupid girls. That's us.
I like the Fiend designs. I like when Charlotte hums the theme song to break down that fourth wall. I like that it's heavily implied that Charlotte's parents either died in space or died here or wherever they are, and then her grandma lied about them going to space. There's an episode where Vendetta, to mess with her, sends Fiends to go pretend to be her parents, and she's like, oh man, my parents are back from space. And then those Fiends die. They get eaten by like a sea monster. But Charlotte thinks they went back to space. They just, like, flew up on their own, so she's still oblivious. I've seriously exhausted every little thing I could talk about. If you aren't convinced already, then unfortunately you may never be. It's on YouTube. It may even be right under this video. Even if you don't want to watch it, like, fully focus on it like I did, just put it on in the background, alright? The vibes are immaculate. I guess all there's left to say about this show is Amy Winfrey is still not legally allowed to make more content from the show, but in April Fool's 2015, she released a video on her channel called Baking Beans, which goes like this.
Through a series of fun and improbable events, the beans got canned!
Out of the two shows I have watched so far, both are good, but Making Fiends is better. El Tigre, aka El Tigre, The Adventures of Manny Rivera, but nobody calls it that. It went on for a season and ran for 1 year. During that 1 year, it was moved from Nickelodeon to the Nicktoons network and then silently canceled. Sound familiar? But that's where the similarities to other shows end, because El Tigre is actually quite different. While Catscratch is focused on the main 3 characters and making Fiends all revolves around those 2 characters interacting with each other, the best parts of El Tigre is that it's bursting with fun side characters. It's a superhero cartoon, but not in the way modern superhero cartoons are superhero cartoons. It stars Manny Rivera. Like the title suggests, he has a superhero alter ego known as El Tigre. But he isn't actually like legendary or even like well respected. His identity isn't even a secret. He suits up in front of people at his school all the time. But that still doesn't make him popular. Nobody around him cares. It's hard to please children. I think it's an interesting dynamic to have a kid superhero in a universe where there's already a ton of superheroes, so his crime fighting doesn't really impact that much and it seems very uniform, and he's pretty unpopular. But the main reason this isn't like other superhero shows is because the main focus is the family. Manny is part of a long line of both superheroes and supervillains. His father is the legendary White Pantera, who has his own tragic stories that we'll get into, but they also live with his grandpappy, the notorious Puma Loco. And I don't mean they're retired and they used to be heroes and villains. They are both actively committing crimes and stopping them. As fun as the fights in the show are, I really like the interpretation that all the superhero stuff is just kind of like a job. Like, they just clock in and do stuff and then go home. They're family, but they're actively working on opposite teams. Like, the grandpappy will steal priceless gems from the bank, and then the dad will wave his finger and be like, don't do that, that's not good. But then he won't do anything else about it. He doesn't stop him. This show has a couple double-length special episodes, and if you couldn't tell, it is heavily inspired by Mexico. Creator of the show, Jorge R. Gutierrez, went on to create Book of Life and Maya in the 3, so he knows what he's talking about. One of the double-length special episodes falls on Dia de los Muertos, and Manny manages through wacky shenanigans to die tragically. That's not what happens, I lied. He does, however, end up in the underworld where he gets to meet all of his dead relatives. It is revealed by going through every past generation of his family that it constantly switches. It has gone hero, villain, hero, villain, hero, El Tigre. But then we get to meet the oldest Rivera in the Rivera family, the original El Tigre, who is so wrought with the decision between good and evil that his personality split in 2. So what does that mean for our El Tigre? I mean, it's a kid's show. He's clearly a hero, right? But that's where you'd be wrong, because the most interesting parts about El Tigre, the show, is Manny's internal struggle with identity. Again, I love that becoming a supervillain isn't treated like turning evil. It's just like a job path that his dad doesn't want him to go on. He's like, oh, I wish you'd be a doctor, but I could support you making long videos about cartoons on the internet. Are you making any money on that? Honestly, it might actually be the other way around, because superheroing does not make any money. White Pantera says multiple times that he's struggling to make ends meet. Meanwhile, his dad is stealing money and rolling in it. Also, Miracle City, where they live and where the show is set, seems to kind of hate him. The dad, they at least don't respect him. So of course Manny would choose evil, but then sometimes he comes back around and sides with his father because it's the right thing to do. And also he doesn't want to break his dad's heart. It's an interesting dichotomy. I don't think since or before we have gotten a kid's superhero show that treats being a hero and being a villain as like different life paths, and you could take either one, and it makes Manny really interesting. It's revealed later there's an annual villain race with all the previous villains we've seen in the show, that only villains are allowed in, and they let Manny compete? He's so close. And that's a point of contention for the series. I did look at other reviews, and even like reviews at the time, and a lot of critics' issue with the show, the issue they took with it, is that Manny is not a moral, upstanding role model. He's kind of just like a shitty kid. Angry parents took umbrage with Manny's more rebellious side. They say stuff like, tweens will enjoy the zany characters and exaggerated stories, but parents might take issue with the young character's penchant for troublemaking, the absence of a strong role model for Manny, and the overall lack of repercussions for his questionable behavior. One infamous reviewer said the show was irresponsible because it doesn't teach lessons of morality. Take a guess which one it was.
The show kind of just gives lip service to Latin American themes. The show is called El Tigre. It has superheroes that look like Mexican wrestlers with Mexican accents. But beyond that, the Hispanic themes just feel superficial.
Oh yeah, man. I'm sure Jorge Gutierrez, creator of the Book of Life, is really scraping the bottom of the barrel to pretend to care about Mexican culture.
I thought you were talking about Nicktoons. Why are you picking fights?
I I thought we were still talking about Portal.
In the musical episode video, I talked about how much I love Cricket Green, because we don't get a lot of characters like this anymore. I do love modern cartoons. I'm not the kind of person that's like, ooh, stuff used to be better back in my day. But it kind of irks me that every modern cartoon has a kid character. They have to be like pure of heart, because if you've ever met a real kid, they are not. And it was such a common thing in the 2000s. I mean, Timmy Turner, the Ed Boys, Billy and Mandy. It's kind of a lost art. That doesn't mean I dislike the pure of heart characters, because I really don't. I just talked about how much I loved making Fiends and by extension the Owl House, and that is the pinnacle of that example. But it's nice to switch it up on occasion, so watching this whole show and seeing Manny be a bastard man sometimes brings a tear to my eye. Hell man, I'd be evil too if my dad was this much of a square.
Money, tattoos are evil. Tattoos, piercings, hair dye, loose pants, refined sugar, all evil!
You think getting a tattoo is good? No. Getting a tattoo is not good. I don't care about it, but it's not good behavior.
Kind of mean and targeted that he brings up dyed hair when Manny's best friend has blue hair and pronouns. Rita Suarez. I was looking for a PNG of her to use for this section. Here's a tip for you guys. Don't Google her. She's Manny's best friend and occasional partner in shenanigans, and she's also way more of a bastard. It's like the little devil on his shoulder. One of my favorite writing cliches is characters that seem popular and like cool, like, oh, we're the cool kids, and they kind of talk down to lamer kids. And, like, they're like, ah, look at those guys. Those are losers. Nobody likes them. But then you zoom out and see that they themselves are not popular. More so than that, I love the dynamic of two people who have no friends whatsoever other than each other, especially in, like, a school setting, because that's so true and so funny.
We are going to stay at past 8. No, guys, Tony, wait. At 7:30, my mom is between 90 out. Geeks. Why do you have to be geeks? Those guys are beyond geeks. They play that Master Force game. The role-playing thing where you dress up pretended characters.
You're making fun of kids for dressing up and playing pretend. You're literally El Tigre. I mean, Frida does have a band that you could count as friends, but they don't talk really. Frida is known for her firecracker attitude and her penchant for danger and excitement and rock music, just like Manny. El Tigre does this really interesting thing with its characters where the designs look both very complicated and simplified. It's like if you drew a character complicated on purpose and then minimalize that as much as possible. All the characters look like this, but Frida's the perfect example because look at this anime-ass design. Suspenders and goggles. She about to build a doohickey with the Wright brothers. And while she is a bastard man alongside Manny, occasionally they are bastard men to each other. Kids fight. I haven't really brought up the voice actors for all these shows because I purposefully try and cut it out of videos because every time I watch a cartoon, I'm like, oh, I know who that is because I have a Rolodex and I like doing that. I think it's a fun pastime. That being said, I immediately knew this was Great Delilah Griffin and I died because she's my favorite. Also, if you know anything about the other characters she's played, Vicky and Azula, she can scream like a motherfucker.
Aren't you afraid of getting hurt? No way, dude. Look at me. I'm perfectly safe. Well...
Like, Jesus Christ, did someone just get stabbed in the booth? Also, John DiMaggio is here, and his Mexican accent is just him saying Mang after everything. Like, hey, what's going on, Mang? Taking after Razor Ramon, who did the exact same thing. Frida's high energy lends itself to the fast-paced nature of the show. And it's not just Frida. Frida is slightly more hyper than Manny, but Manny is hyper in his own right. 11-minute cartoon segment with a fight at the end. You better get your jokes in fast.
You sure about this? I gotta get Zebra Donkey back. He's my second best friend. Nice save, dude.
And those are just the main characters. In a superhero world full of constant reoccurring fun villains, you're gonna get a lot of really cool side characters. The Aves family, just a bunch of egg and bird puns, but the youngest one is actually a goth girl that goes to school with Manny and Frida. She hates Frida, but has a thing for Manny. It's nice that somebody tried to hide their identity. Also, their catchphrase is to scream out vendetta in an evil voice. which reminded me of making Fiends. I gotta have some kind of connection. There's a living mustache named Raul. And then completely unrelated, in a completely different episode, there's the Mustache Mafia that uses their mustaches as extra limbs. And I thought, well, these characters have to meet. And then the next time they both appear, they're in the same episode. I like to think that the writers had all the characters they had made so far spread out. And while looking at them, they realized, we have a lot of mustache-related characters. The albino burrito, whose whole thing is that he's a lame loser that wants to be a hero so bad, and because of that, annoys the shit out of Manny. We're on the verge of an Incrediboy situation here. I think it'd make a good sequel. There's the zebra donkey, who's the town's beloved mascot, until Manny and Frida kill him. He dies because of them. So they use dark magic to bring him back from the dead. And then at the end of the episode, he's like alive, but he's a rotting corpse version. And then throughout the rest of the show, he just stays like that. Like the zebra donkey they all love also happens to be a zombie. And that's like a pretty early episode, and it's also his first appearance. He dies in his first appearance. Frida does have her own family despite hanging out with the Rivera family most of her time. She's got 2 sisters that she's struggling to live up to, and she's constantly fighting for her dad's approval with them. But also she kind of doesn't want his approval because she doesn't want to change for him to like her. Also, he's a cop.
Gotta keep an eye on your stuff when there's no cops around.
Why they need cops in a world full of superheroes? I don't know.
But what if we steal from the supervillains? Yeah! That way it isn't really stealing, it's recovering stolen goods! Dad'll be so proud!
See? He's just like a cop. Speaking of the Rivera family, we eventually get to meet Manny's mom, and we get what is surprisingly a pretty extensive custody battle in that episode. I'm not going to get too deep into spoilers because this show actually does have an official release you can watch right now, as opposed to Archive, Catscratch, and YouTube.com making Fiends. But Manny's parents do have a backstory. His dad wanted to continue superheroing and could not give it up, but his mom thought it was too dangerous and she just could not live with that. So Manny assumes that his mom wants to take him away because if, she thinks superheroing is dangerous, you may want to call Child Protective Services. This kid gets his shit kicked in every week. And you think she's just going to be a one-off character, but after beginning to work at Manny's school, she starts to show up more and more. She becomes a side character and we learn more about her. She's reoccurring. And what makes it even more sad is we meet another villain later in the series that used to be White Pantera's sidekick before he abandoned him to focus on his family. Perfect Incrediboy story. And in a completely different episode, we learned that the first ever monster White Pantera ever ran away from is because he had an epiphany and realized he needed to be around for his wife and son. He can't give up crime fighting and superheroing, but he'll do anything for Manny. He is also very clearly still in love with his ex-wife. It's really sad. Cosmic Cleopatra, there's a guy named the Seventh Samurai, voiced by George Takei.
You must be Manny. And you must be his little troublemaking friend.
Samurai!
I'm George Takei, and if your name is Kevin, here's a little freebie for your cell phone. Hi, Kevin can't come to the phone. He's on a spaceship with me, George Takei.
I feel like I'm referencing that specific episode a lot these days, but it's so apt for so many situations. Dr. Chipotle, the Golden Eagle twins, there's an entire episode where they take over the mind of a giant mech robot and then accidentally fly to his home planet and realize he's just a dad, but then also realize that they may have to explain to these kids that they killed their dad and are now puppeting his corpse around.
We gotta go! It's okay to break their hearts, right? And traumatize them for life, right? This is where you say right!
And then they pretend to be their dead dad by puppeting the corpse around because they don't want to make them sad. Best episode in the series. My favorite villain, and probably the show's favorite villain because how often she shows up, but it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because she's probably my favorite because of how often she shows up, Sartana of the Dead. Sartana of the Dead is the most menacing and most reoccurring villain in the series, which probably has something to do with the fact that she's like the only one that has actual superpowers. She can control the dead with her mystic guitar. Also, I think she's a demigod. Both of her parents are gods, but strangely enough, considering the show is El Tigre, her most interesting adversary isn't even Manny. It's Frida. Sartana and Frida actually have a whole lot in common, mainly their equal love of the guitar, and because of this, regardless of Frida not having powers, they clash a lot. And then there's an episode where it's revealed that Grandpappy and Sartana are gonna get married, and it seems like it's gonna be revealed that Sartana was actually manipulating him, but that reveal never happens. They both legitimately like each other. They just decide to call it off for the betterment of both of their families. And that's referenced in a future episode at least once after this. El Tigre actually has a lot of little continuity details if you're paying attention, or if you watch the entire series all in a row and it took you all day and you didn't watch anything else. And then Sartana has a kid who begins to pull Manny to the dark side for good, but then Manny decides to be good and kills him. He's a one-off character, so of course he doesn't appear again. But if El Tigre killed my kid, I wouldn't let that slide. But she can definitely bring things back from the dead, so no love lost. And it's not just the named characters that are iconic. The show utilizes the same technique as The Amazing World of Gumball does, where all the background characters are designed in such detail that they look as though they could be the main character of their own show. Also, like, a large portion of the background characters are just Street Fighter characters, and Evil Morty? How'd they know? The world of El Tigre is as vast as any other cartoon that's ran for dozens of seasons, much less one. It's a shame we didn't get a video game set in Miracle City. I mean, we did, it just isn't good. Think of like a fighting game with all these characters. This setting and these characters are so rich, and yet they never get invited to the crossovers. Hey, you guys want to play as the goth kid from the Loud House in the new Nickelodeon game? No, I want to play as El Tigre. I am biased. It's a shame it isn't talked about enough. I'm going to be saying that a lot this video, because I legitimately think it's up there with some of the best action cartoons. And that is due in no small part to the way the characters move. It's so active. El Tigre was the first ever Nicktoon solely animated in Adobe Flash, and everyone is constantly wrong about Flash. There's this idea, which has been dying out more and more, which is definitely a positive, that Flash shows are always lazy and always ugly, but there's, oh, that one exception. All Flash shows are ugly and lazy, except for that one, that's the exception, and that one, also an exception. That one, those three are an exceptions too. That one's an exception. How many exceptions have to come along before you just admit it's not true? It's such an old ideology, and we need it to die off, all right? A bunch of angry animators in the 90s were like, this is killing the business, and they had a chokehold on the internet opinion ever since. I think maybe there was a show I'm supposed to be talking about. Despite talking about shipping and making Fiends as like a gag, I do realistically normally prefer characters to just be friends. Relationships kind of bore me. Do you think Jeff and Annie or Jeff and Britta are better? How about my favorite ship is all 7 of them hanging out together and being best friends as a group? But it's obviously Jeff and Britta, everyone knows that. When the show starts, we get to see Manny and Frida do shenanigans and be best friends and completely denounce the idea that either of them could be interested in each other. I can make another joke referencing a Disney XD show about a superhero and their non-superhero sidekick that still manages to fight alongside them, and then they end up together in a romance that nobody wanted, but all I know about Star vs. the Forces of Evil is that I like the theme song. That's as far as I got into the show, is listening to the theme song. Pretty good theme song, though. The pair of episodes back-to-back, what are they called? Love and War and Wrong and Dance are a perfect example. In Love and War, Dr. Chipotle Jr. and Senor Sinestro, 2 characters I didn't really mention because they're not as cool as John DiMaggio, who both have feelings for Frida and go after each other to try and compete for her heart, but she doesn't care about either of them. This isn't the first time the show has done this. As I talked about earlier, the youngest of the Egg family has feelings for Manny, and their interactions are kind of nice, but I do think it's really funny that every single generation of that family had a thing for a Rivera man, and then they ruin their life. Like, you definitely have a type. But then the 2 loser guys team up and realize the one thing that is truly in their way of getting Frida's heart is Manny. They have an inseparable bond. I almost said insufferable. Of course, they don't actually like each other, but that's not going to stop the nerd crew until, you know, it does stop them.
Whoa, I'm in baby jail.
I guess the lesson we can all glean from this is the only gay baby jail you can't escape from is life. The episode Wrong and Dance is about Manny and Frida both looking for dates to their school dance because they don't want to go as friends with each other because they think everyone will laugh at them. Honestly, aside from the supposed romantic interaction and implication of this episode, the only reason I brought it up is because I think the show accidentally tapped into something.
You can't go with him. He'll rub off on you. No homework. It's an offer I can't refuse. Don't worry, I can fix him.
Like hearing the term "I can fix him" in a 2000s children's cartoon sent me spiraling.
Here is a list of bands. Start liking them.
Yes, my blue-haired queen.
It's like they could see the future.
I said to him, your accent is so bad.
Now I'm talking, that Frida girl.
In the end, Manny and Frida both couldn't get their dates to work out, so they end up going to the dance together. And then when they get there, they realize that the dance is actually very lame, and they're excited because they are the only ones that are gonna have fun because they're such good friends. It's a really sweet moment. As the series went on, we got a couple, like I said, double-length special event episodes that introduced new interesting characters and struggle with where Manny's loyalties lie. The final episode, when you're watching it, doesn't actually seem like the final episode because it's a normal length segment, so I was ready to assume the show got canceled without them knowing about it. I mean, the last 4 episodes were all just thrown on Nicktoons randomly in random intervals. Sound familiar? We get a nice what-if episode where all the characters lose their powers until the very end of the episode where they all switch outfits and we get to see their different powers mixed and matched. But then as the episode's wrapping up, we see all the beloved side characters we've met throughout the series. All the villains burst into flames and the episode ends as Frida kisses Manny and they all celebrate with all their beloved friends and family. You know what? Pretty good finale. I mean, pretty well-rounded series. I think it's good the way it is, although, like I said, I would like to see Manny and other characters from the El Tigre universe appear in more crossover media and just be recognized. I know the creators want the same thing, but hey, it's a pretty decent run for a cartoon. I mean, it's only 1 season of 26 episodes, but with commercials, that's 13 hours. I guess after I watched Making Fiends in only a matter of hours, anything beyond that seemed like a good run. I mean, they got an ending that was both open enough if they ever wanted to do more, but also ended the series on a nice note. Even if we never see El Tigre in any modern Nicktoons games again, I hope more people talk about it. I hope he gets recognized. I hope he gets remembered. It kind of warms my heart to see fandoms of shows way past cancellation. All I found for Catscratch were some weird, strange creepypasta videos, but I looked up all the shows I watched because I wanted more content. I got obsessed with all of them. I got emotionally involved. Making Fiends still has an active fan art community on Tumblr, and it's pretty good. For all these series, after I finished them, I wanted to look them up on YouTube to see what other people were saying about them. And I expected reviews of El Tigre. What I got instead: El Tigre moments that made me smile for almost 6 minutes, 230k views. White Pantera being cute and dorky dad for 5 minutes, 190k views. A bunch of videos of actual Spanish tigers that are not related to El Tigre. People are still making fandom-related posts about these shows modern day for a show that's been AWOL for multiple years. How cool is that? This is my metric, and I think you guys should all go off of this too. If you ever want to see if a show is still currently popular, type it in the search bar, and then type out of context. All the titles will be, oh, character being cute for 15 minutes straight, except instead of straight, it'll say gay. Seinfeld clips that watered my crops and cured my depression. It sounds like I'm making fun of this stuff, but I actually love this shit. And I constantly click on them. These are shows I've seen multiple times over. It's like, yeah, I'll watch a compilation of community clips that's 30 minutes long. I want to see their cute little edits where they add the little heart emoji. Anyway, that was El Tigre. This one has an actual digital release, so you should consider watching it, and if not, look at the fandom clips on the internet. Out of context.
Women.
Oh yeah! Well, you know what I think?
Who cares what you think? You're a girl now!
Women.
That's how you know it's a true Nicktoon.
Oh! Who lives in a bung in a dormitory? SpongeBob disgusting and green as sticky as he. SpongeBob.
Alright, guys. This has been a long time coming. With all the previous shows, I have watched them in their entirety. This one's going to be a little different. The common consensus is that SpongeBob had 3 fantastic seasons and then made a really great movie, and then after that, everything sucked. I can't let nostalgia cloud my judgment. However, this post-movie era of SpongeBob, that's the era I grew up watching. I still absolutely love the first 3 seasons. They hold up as one of that best cartoon runs ever. But seasons 4 to 6 was my SpongeBob. It's like seeing an old childhood friend. I can't let nostalgia cloud my judgment, sure, but did you ever think that maybe nostalgia's clouding your judgment? Maybe the reason you don't like these seasons isn't because they're bad, but because you grew out of SpongeBob and decided the show was bad because of it. You see SpongeBob memes on the internet, and they aren't just from seasons 1 to 3, they're from seasons 1 to 5. But memes don't necessarily mean a show is good, or it even had an impact. I mean, people talk about whether Avatar as a series, the movies, not the cartoon, had an impact on pop culture. This is my SpongeBob DVD collection that was collecting dust in my childhood room. These are the DVDs I would watch every night for years. Oh, right, you guys are... Okay, so this is a DVD. It's a compact disc. And yeah, I did watch the first 3 seasons over and over. These are the only full seasons I have, so clearly they're the best ones. But you know which DVD I watched the most? Dungeons and Dragons. That's not what it's called. It's called Lost in Time. That's not what the episode is, though. Post-movie SpongeBob, at least for a couple of years, got really obsessed with event television. Every season would have at least 1 half-hour special, stuff like Atlantis SquarePantis and Truth or Square. I mean, even before the movie, they had these themed DVDs, but ever since the specials happened, it was a lot easier to curate episodes on DVDs. So my question is, why do I remember these 3 seasons more fondly than most? Could it have something to do with the DVDs? What list of episodes have been curated on these that made it seem good at the time? Could it just be nostalgia? Do these DVDs make the seasons seem better? This may seem a little unfair to only review the episodes they curated on their best DVDs, but all my videos are really only for me, and I want to figure out personally why I feel such a connection for these. So instead of watching every episode from season 4 to 6, I will instead be watching the list of episodes curated in each of these special event DVDs I loved so much as a wee lad. I mean, they can only fit so many episodes on these DVDs. There's no way they're gonna put the worst... Okay, so there are some episodes I don't like. Let's start with Lost in Time, because it's probably the one I watched the most as a kid, and it consists of season 4 episodes. The Lost in Time DVD consists of episodes Dungeons and Dragons, the 2-parter, Selling Out, Funny Pants, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 4, the motion picture, Enemy-in-Law, and Patrick Smart Pants. Here's the issue with specifically talking about this. The point of having an opinion piece or a review is to convince you why something is good or bad, just to get you on my side on what I'm thinking, or at least explain what I'm thinking. If a show has good direction or good writing or cool action sequences or cinematography, I can tell you about it. I can explain it and you will understand why that's cool. But jokes are different. Jokes rely so much on execution and timing. We always say humor is subjective, but by that I think people are misunderstanding what that means. It has more to do with who's telling the joke and how the joke is told than any person listening to it. Back in the childhood trauma video, you'll notice the SpongeBob clip I showed. Is nearly incomprehensible, and that's because despite the internet being made up of so many clips, seeing entire episodes of SpongeBob uploaded on Twitter, seeing funny moments put above Subway Surfers on TikTok, YouTube is apparently the biggest problem. Nickelodeon's parent company Viacom in the year 2023 still refuses to let you use SpongeBob clips. And I don't mean claiming the video, alright? I'm talking about so many shows and showing them behind me. Regardless of what I do, this video is going to get claimed. I mean straight up blocking. So what I have to do in this entire series review is tell you that episodes are funny and prove it by not showing you any clips of those episodes. Do you guys trust me? Because you're really gonna have to take my word on this one. If you want to see the full episodes, go to TikTok and keep scrolling. They will pop up eventually. Patrick Smart Pants and Enemy-in-Law aren't like gut-bustingly hilarious, but they aren't bad. That's the thing with SpongeBob. I don't believe it actually got bad until seasons later, but because the first 3 seasons are so spectacular, it technically got worse. I'm not trying to say that season 4 is as good as the first 3 seasons. I just think there are some episodes that are really good, that are great, that should be ranked among the pantheon of greatest SpongeBob episodes. But Funny Pants is not one of those. It's the worst on the DVD, potentially worst of the season, and it sets up a really bad precedent. This is the first episode in the series where SpongeBob's laugh is supposed to be annoying, so they add like a scratching sound, squeaking sound beneath it, and they pitch Tom Kenny's voice up. But then after this episode, they continued to do that. Like in this episode, it's supposed to sound annoying, and I don't know if they liked how it sounded or if it's just like a mistake they kept doing, but every episode after this, it has the same laugh where they pitch it up, and throughout the series, Tom Kenny's voice gets higher and higher pitch. And don't say, oh, it's because you're an adult now. Even as a kid, I thought this was annoying. I thought something was like wrong with my DVD, because it probably is decently scratched. I watched it all the time. I brought it everywhere. I do still quote, another day, another nickel, and right foot forward. in my day-to-day life. Selling Out and Dungeons and Dragons are pretty good episodes. I just sprayed liquid on my crotch. I think people mix these two up with the previous 3 seasons because of how funny they are. I would probably say that Selling Out is better just because it's a lot more well-rounded. I think SpongeBob works a lot better in 11-minute segments as opposed to the half-hour specials. Not to say that Dungeons and Dragons is bad, because it isn't. I know quotes and memes don't equate to quality, but it's the only way I can explain how things are funny without showing the clips. I can't tell you how many times I've quoted Dost Thou Talketh to me after I saw the episode. Also, it's got a bunch of songs. They're very short, but it's enough to win me over. The episode Selling Out also starts with a musical number. No wonder I wore this DVD out as a kid. Along with the event episodes, I think after the movie, the show starts to lean into the musical talent of its cast a lot more. Seasons 1 through 3 had the occasional song, but season 4 onward had songs through and throughout multiple episodes. It's like Adventure Time. The songs don't always appear. It's not a musical series where every episode has a song, but when they do, they're pretty great. Selling Out is also just like a funny episode. The Krusty Krab being sold to a massive business conglomerate, and they turn it into a generic, no-character bar and grill where they produce sewage and mass produce it and send it out to their customers. It's very apt. Also, it's nice that Mr. Krab abandons all his new money to win back his passion. I said I don't think the show gets bad until later, but it does eventually get bad, and I think a big proprietor of this is how mean-spirited the show gets. And I don't need characters to love each other all the time, and I don't need the show to teach me a moral or teach anyone a moral. It just becomes not fun to watch. Like Aqua Teen and Always Sunny in Philadelphia, those are fun to watch. They're mean-spirited and the characters hate each other, and they're still entertaining. SpongeBob annoying Squidward and Mr. Krabs hating his daughter is just not fun to watch. These good to okay episodes are, of course, all stacking and building up to the feature film. This episode, this season 4 episode, is one of the greatest in the entirety of SpongeBob's run. Legitimately, I'd put it in like second place right below Band Geeks. What makes Band Geeks so great as an episode is it is an ensemble cast, and all these multiple side characters that have been built up since the beginning of the series all come together, and they're all on their top game, and I think the same happens with the feature film. I know quotes don't equal comedy, but I can't show you the clips, so you guys are either gonna have to remember or just trust me on this. They're using actors and then zooming in on his hyper-realistic mouth. I feel like people forget that SpongeBob used to do this all the time. So in the Squidward creepypasta, whenever they say hyper-realistic eyes, everyone's like, oh, that's so silly, but that's definitely something SpongeBob would do. Squidward leaving through the fake door and then doing a double take and have to turn back around and go through that same door and then shutting it. Plankton just wants to be in the movie. He doesn't even have an evil scheme. He just wants to be a part of the process. Pearl also really wants to be a star, but instead of making her a main character, she plays the invisible boatmobile. I gotta say, I think Pearl is the most slept-on character. I love seeing her in episodes. She's really funny. She adds so much to them. The fact that when we see the movie, you can clearly tell that they use Sandy as a stunt double. Patrick leaving the lens cap on for the entire shoot. We have to get back those stolen naggy daddies. You could be the boom operator. I thought Sandy was the boom operator. Did somebody say boom? I cannot tell you how often me and my group of friends quote that to each other. It's like daily at this point. Legitimately, quote it more than any other SpongeBob moment. The way Plankton screams, "Give it back!" after dropping the boom mic in Mermaid Man's mouth. Even if you still think season 4 is trash and you don't want to give it a shot, at least watch this episode. It's my favorite episode, and it's probably legitimately the only reason I'm talking about post-movie SpongeBob. I truly believe if you hate these seasons, this episode could change your mind. It is that good. And it kind of seems like I just listed all of the jokes. I just listed my favorites. That's not even all of them. It's a short episode, but it's brimming. Anyway, I'm done with this. Pest of the West Season 5 DVD. This season actually tried something new and took a note from an old cartoons book. And instead of having 2 11-minute segments equal 1 episode, they instead had multiple different very short shorts for episodes. It doesn't seem like it would be a substantial difference, but it really is. I think the shorts work as shorts, but Pat No Pay and the Krusty Plate were the ones that were on this DVD, and they don't really work as SpongeBob episodes. Like, the shorts and the episodes are fundamentally different things. It's a smart move, though, if they're running out of ideas. I'd rather feel like we missed out on a lot and the episode wasn't enough than feel like, oh man, this episode's going on way too long. Which for 11 minutes is hard to pull off, but not impossible. By season 5, I don't think the show has become bad yet, but it has become worse. Season 4 was like the last great hurrah. That's not to say this DVD is devoid of quality. The Inmates of Summer is a positive use of SpongeBob's good heart and naivete that future episodes lack. Like when the show started, his characteristic was that he was nice and loved everyone. In the later seasons, he just becomes annoying. And you're on his side when he tortures Full Metal Jacket because he's a dick and SpongeBob doesn't deserve to be in jail yet. I also like the song. I'm really easy to please. And then there's the episode 20,000 Patties Under the Sea, which isn't really that funny, but it does have that one clip of Plankton berating a family that goes viral on Twitter every couple months. Someone should put you in a box floating down the river, Grandma! But aside from that, the episodes are pretty nothing. To Save a Squirrel is just Patrick and SpongeBob messing around in a cave and just repeating old jokes from old episodes. I do like their little Gollumified gremlin designs, though. And then the Battle for Bikini Bottom, not the game, but the episode. Or wait, Battle of Bikini Bottom. SpongeBob and Patrick come across what are basically Civil War reenactors. I mean, they're wearing the outfits, but we never really figure out what the Battle of Bikini Bottom was. So, like, their fish slavery. Did the Fish Union fight the Fish Confederates with Fish Abraham Lincoln to free the fish slaves? Did that happen? The special in this is Dunces and Dragons, but the title of the DVD is Lost in Time, which is confusing. But on this, now we get to the title special, Pest of the West. They learned how to do it. The only real upside to this special is we get new songs. I love me some SpongeBob songs. And the other upside is that we get to hear the entire voice cast all do Southern accents. That sounds unimportant, because it is. I haven't brought up the memories and nostalgia of broadcast television in a while. I remember where I was when I first saw the special when it first came out, and I remember how excited I was ahead of time, but weirdly enough, I didn't remember anything about the actual special. There are the big 4 seasons, not SpongeBob seasons, but real world seasons that I always associate memories with, right? Fall is Halloween, winter's Christmas, summer is summer. I don't know why that one took me a long time to figure out. But I was never really a spring guy. Weird timing for this video to come out, I know. And I still am not. I never cared much for Easter because you can get candy on Halloween too, and you don't have to, you get to dress up. But dress up in a costume and not in church clothes. But what I do remember fondly is as a kid, every spring, a family in our neighborhood would host these March Madness parties, so everyone could watch the entire event. Like 13 of us, all in different grades, but all kids, would get off the school bus at their house at the same time, and we would just hang out all day for like multiple weeks. I've mentioned it before sometimes, but I wasn't really raised by parents as much as I was raised by a bunch of different parents, an amalgamous glob of families. It takes a village. If you know anything about Nickelodeon, then you would also know that the prestigious Kids' Choice Awards happen around the same time in late March, early April, in spring. And you may also know that immediately following the Kids' Choice Awards, they like to premiere a new episode or series. I remember being at their house when Victorious premiered, when they showed the April Fool's episodes of iCarly and Victorious. Who's calling me? This doesn't have anything to do with spring, but I also remember going over to their house, and we all had a big watch party for, I think, Sozin's Comet, the finale of Avatar. And I was there, and I watched it with them, but I wasn't into Avatar, and I didn't watch any of the other episodes, so I was confused. I didn't know anything about the show. I thought the siblings were hot, though. I also remember watching the Good Luck Charlie premiere at their house. I'm getting wildly off course, but I'm just listing things in my brain right now. Also, Gravity Falls Season 1 finale. I miss them sometimes. My point being, I always start sentences like that, but I actually don't know what my point was. We get to see the characters wear Western outfits. Anyway, sorry, my point is that I watched it at the same house, but it wasn't even in spring. After that, we have To Square Pants or Not to Square Pants DVD. All season 6 episodes. I may be ready to admit the show has gotten bad. I still stand by what I said, though. The show gets bad, okay? But it happens later than people think. Like, it still has some steam after the movie. It just gradually slowed to a stop. None of these episodes are good. Some are less worse than others, but that does not mean they're good. This is like a third of the entirety of season 6, and they're like, we gotta pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the best episodes on this DVD. and they could only find 7 that were like okay, and then 1 that sucks. I also think the episode Slumber Party may have had something to do with my root beer obsession, along hand in hand with Catscratch. We very rarely get Pearl episodes, and like I said earlier, I like Pearl, so in that sense, the episode goes against the grain. All I have to say about the episode The Krabby Chronicle is that SpongeBob publishes a story calling himself an underage worker, and as he comes out of his little back room, we see him with stubble, like aftershave. So it's still very unclear where he falls on the whole age thing. Last year, I said I wasn't a theory channel, and then in the same video, made like a 2-hour-long theory. And ever since then, I've been chomping at the bit for more lore. I need a hot tip for the press, see? The most consistently good moments, the best parts of the episodes I watched are random incidental background characters. That should not be the case. The only times I laughed while watching all of these episodes were listening to the background murmurings of random characters that don't have names. And then the boating school episode where the one guy says, well, I don't know what's so very good about it. That made me die. The MVPs are the random fish. It didn't make the season worth watching, but it didn't make me want to die. Final consensus about all the SpongeBob I watched for this. Season 4 is still good. I think it deserves to be ranked among the previous 3 seasons as one of the best. Maybe not as consistent as the previous 3 seasons, but it has enough good episodes to warrant you watching it the whole way through. Season 5 gets noticeably worse, but nowhere terrible, and then Season 6, it starts to get bad. If I can at least change one mind out there, just whenever you go back to rewatch the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob, maybe throw Season 4 in there, or at least throw in Mermaid Man and Barnacle 4, the feature film, alright? It's like my favorite episode, just for me, for your good old pal Andrew Ultra. Just watch that episode. And among the worst episodes, even if I don't like them or remember them, I still won't be able to get those catchy songs out of my head. Speaking of catchy tunes and fast food workers,
All God's creatures, fresh off the grill. So come on down to Mr. Meaty with plans, Meaty, meat.
alright. Now, you may have heard of this show. Mr. Meaty is a Nickelodeon puppet show that is directed towards teenagers and preteen demographic that their non-sitcom shows were just not reaching. It's infamous for having gross-out moments and strange or creepy episodes, and you know what? I went into this show with an open mind. I feel like the internet kind of unfairly picks and chooses which shows can get away with gross out and which ones can't. A show like Flapjack, which is also gross and creepy, is beloved by all with clips shared all around the internet, and don't get me wrong, alright? I also love Flapjack, I think it's a great show, but I think it's a little unfair that Mr. Meaty gets swept under the rug for having similar things when it is very clearly very impressive. Like, regardless of how you feel about the writing, it's a puppet show. It's impressively put together. Do you know how rare non-Henson puppet shows were and are? Every single character, every single monster, every single prop, location, set was painstakingly made and labored over, but it's too ugly. I've seen you guys, yes you, hypothetical internet straw man I made up, I've seen you guys do the inverse. I've seen you guys like a show with bad writing because you think it looks pretty and you think it's worth watching even though the writing is boring. Well, this show looks pretty too, even if you don't like the writing. You have to see the amount of effort that went into it. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a certified puppet freak, alright? I like the felt. Right, guys? I honestly didn't think you were gonna invite us back. But here we are. Beloved one-off characters. See? I went into most of these shows with a handful of scattered memories, and an open mind, but I went into Mr. Meaty really wanting to like it because I remember liking it. I know I'm constantly begging to be a part of the cartoon community on the internet, but I've been watching it for a long time from afar, and I've seen so many shows pushed aside or swept under the rug because they're weird. Remember that episode of Steven Universe that came out that Uncle Grandpa was in, and the whole thing was Steven defending the gems from murdering Uncle Grandpa and being like, hey, he's weird, yeah, he's unconventional, he's different from us, but we still gotta defend him, we still gotta stick up for him. And then the episode came out, and the general consensus for the people who were fans of the show were, I think Uncle Grandpa deserves the death penalty. I've had it, I don't care anymore, you guys don't need to keep me in, I'm not gonna change anything. I liked Problem Solvers, I liked Secret Mountain Fort Awesome, alright? I'll admit anything. So imagine how disappointed I was when I finally finished Mr. Meaty, and it was just kind of boring. Like, I expected it to either be very funny and or very strange because the internet hyped it up as being disgusting. but it's just like, okay. Like, the weird episodes are pretty few and far between, but they are the highlights of the series. Mr. Meaty stars 2 fast food employees, Parker and Josh. No relation. They work at Mr. Meaty, where they sling meat and struggle through the epic highs and lows of being a teenager. Josh is the generic horny teenager that wants nothing more out of life than be popular and kiss girl. Meanwhile, his best friend Parker thinks girls are icky and smelly and much prefer to talk about Star Wars. You can imagine which one I liked more. What's confusing is they don't literally refer to it as Star Wars. Their version is called like Star Raiders or something. But then they name drop C-3PO, and there's an entire episode revolved around them getting the Force. Like, it's not a reference, they just get the Force, and they call it that. While watching this show, full of gross out and teenage shenanigans and Star Wars references, I had one thought on my mind. Is this a Canadian show? Total Drama, 16, My Babysitter's a Vampire, Johnny Test, all Canadian shows. You know what they all have? Reoccurring Star Wars references. If you're ever watching a show and they bring up Star Wars a whole lot and reference it or parody it, there's a very good chance it was made across the pond. My saying stuck. Most of the episodes use this dynamic. Josh wants to be cool, Parker wants to have fun. Normal high school stuff, throwing a party at your house while your parents are away, sneaking into a rated R movie, getting a tapeworm and then selling it to a guy who eats tapeworms and watch him slowly put it back inside his body. High school. But again, these strange episodes don't actually happen as often as you would think. People just talk about them the most because trauma. What I didn't expect, however, as a reoccurring theme is how often they make life on this show. Like an episode where they accidentally bring into existence or birth some kind of new being is more likely to show up than, oh man, I got 2 dates to the prom. A birth of a Yeti from an egg, they create a sentient meat woman, the previously mentioned tapeworm. When people talk about this show, they always say they hate the show but love the theme song. But have you ever actually listened to the theme song? Like, listen. Have you heard the lyrics? The lyrics, all God's creatures fresh off the grill. When we hear this, you probably think of the Christian God that appears in media all the time. But what is a God? This is why you guys have to watch every video regardless of how unimportant they may seem on the outside. Philosophy's gonna pop up. You don't know what I'm talking about, and neither do I. All God's creatures, gods with an S, fresh off the grill. You know what was made in the kitchen? The Yeti. The meat woman. The gods this theme song is referring to is not thou art in heaven. The gods are Josh and Parker. Not a day goes by that they don't make a horrifying homunculi in their back alley kitchen. And it's not just creating new life, they bring several people back from the dead in multiple episodes. El Tigre only did that once, and they have a whole ass character who can control death. The short where they use the Force, it isn't explained at all while they have it. They just have that innate ability, meaning that they can change and bend the universe to their will whenever they wish, meaning they are gods. Oh yeah. Shorts. You see, Mr. Meaty, before it was an actual full-length show, used to air in shorts as bumpers in between commercial breaks and shows on the Nickelodeon network, and I think that's how I watched it as a kid. I don't remember the tapeworm or any full 11-minute episode, but I did remember watching it while watching SpongeBob, so it was most definitely the shorts. Back in the day, you had to watch the commercials because they would occasionally sprinkle extra content in. That's why I recorded everything. It's a shame I didn't save any of those recordings after the flood, because similar to Catscratch, it's not all in the best quality. I'm pretty sure we do have all the official Mr. Meaty content, and I watched all of it, but sorry to all the people who fondly remember the Trick or Meat special, because the best version I could find is this, like, slideshow frame rate with unregistered Ivercam too. It's Jover. I will say, after watching all of the Mr. Meaty content, I think the shorts work way better than the series. No wonder I remembered it more fondly than most. I didn't actually watch the show. These tight 3-minute shorts, they aren't perfect, but they're way better than meandering through 11 minutes. It's unusual to say that 11 minutes of television is too much time, because that is normally the smallest amount you can get. But it's true, but I do think the show has fantastic production design and deserves to be remembered more fondly. strongly. If you guys keep telling me over and over that Miraculous and Ruby are good despite looking like Dreamcast games and not good ones, then we can all watch Mr. Meaty and excuse the ugliness. Meat boys rise up. People use ugly as a synonym for, oh, they didn't try or they did it wrong, but more often than not, if a show is ugly, it's purposeful. It is meant to look like that on purpose. Whereas shows like these look ugly just because of the limitations of their format. Another thing I haven't heard brought up a lot is how often this show accidentally predicts the future. Like, everyone gives The Simpsons props for guessing Trump, even though Trump would constantly announce he was going to run every 4-year cycle. But Mr. Meaty understands the youth of 2023 to a scarily degree. There's an episode where Parker falls for a generic e-girl until it's revealed that she's a reptilian fed. There's an episode where they reveal that one of their fast food worker rules is they have to say yeehaw, very similar to having to say my pleasure. There's an episode where they create an impossible burger that makes girls more girly, and if a guy eats it, he then immediately becomes a girl. So Parker takes it and then becomes a girl throughout the whole episode, and the episode ends with all the other girls beating Parker up for going into the girls' bathroom and not being a real girl while in the girls' bathroom, and then they force feminize Josh. That's all real. Oh, what is this, Harry Potter? What a timely reference, Andrew. Also, there's an episode during the apocalypse set inside a mall with flora overgrowing everything, and it's full of monkeys. So I like to think they also accidentally predicted Kirby. Also, Big Mouth.
You're not the puberty fairy I expected at all. Okay, you're exactly what I imagined.
Hey, you just hit me with a whip.
Yeah, well, there's more where that came from. Get out of my room.
I got a lot of comments on my childhood trauma video. I know I keep bringing it up, but it's not the response I expected. The crux of that video is a bunch of stuff I was scared of as a kid. I was constantly terrified of the concept of being transformed into something, and I would list multiple episodes where that happened, and all the comments were like, I used to love episodes like that. Also, I am a girl now. Just know that as a kid, if I saw the episode where he becomes a girl, I would be confused. Probably the only one that would leave me conflicted. Turning into a cow or pig, my worst nightmare. Turning into a girl, I can't say I haven't thought about it. Unfortunately, one of the few episodes I did see in full, and I do remember, is the episode where Josh forcefully becomes a unicorn, and then all the kids ride him, and then he poops on the floor, and everyone hates him. This show is real, right? Like, you guys can see this too, right? Like, it's not just a blank screen. Please tell me you could see this too. On top of all that, on top of the episodes where they play God, on top of the episodes where they transform, on top of the episodes where they accidentally predict the future, on top of all of that, all weird. But do you want to know what type of episode I really didn't expect to see in this series? You know that sign is wrong, right?
What?
Like, that's not how you spell episode.
No.
So that's the first thing everyone attending the ceremony is gonna see, and it's an error.
I'm sure no one will notice.
I think a lot of people will notice. The episode starts off with a karaoke talent show thing where Josh claims he does not sing, so already off the bat, we're doing a High School Musical. Brittany, his on-again, off-again love interest, I don't actually know, because I watched these way out of order, and in some episodes they're dating, and others they don't know each other. Brittany seems pretty fond of him, and she wants to sing a song on stage with him.
Josh, he thinks he's like so all that, but he's so like not.
Totally. I've always thought he was a diamond in the rough, you know?
That's gotta be a purposeful reference, right? Brittany uses this opportunity to bond with Josh. Meanwhile, Josh makes fun of her and acts like a dick instead. Wouldn't expect anything less from the guy who purposely wore a shirt to be ironic. Completely unrelated from what I just said, check out my Casual Friday shirt from the last time I hosted this event that I lost. I don't know about Josh, but Brittany can sing. I was excited about the prospect of a Mr. Meaty musical episode, but I fully expected it to be like tongue-in-cheek. What I didn't expect was a whole-ass double-length special that actually tries. But like most characters who hate musicals, Josh gets trapped in a musical after knocking himself out with a microphone. Maybe I'm biased, and there's no maybe about it. I definitely am biased. But I do believe this is the best episode in this series. It was the one that made me truly realize how much effort they put into this show. The sets, the props, the choreography, the music, the production, the little details like the dancers constantly running into the prop walls. You can do this in an animated show. You can do the same gag of like a poorly put together set. But it's not the same as having an actual set, a physical set, while using practical puppets. Actually, in universe, it is a shitty put together production. This rocks. I miss the Muppet Show so much. I was a little worried that we would only get songs from new and secondary characters, but then Parker shows up in his little suit, and I love him so much. Voice actors are right down the street from singers, alright? They overlap a lot. And the song they sing as the opening to Musical World is great.
Welcome, Josh, to the land of thong. We got Master Ping banging a gong.
Okay. Maybe not great, but...
Got salads with kale and mango. I've got burritos that will give you the tango.
In my defense, that's pretty uniform for this show. The only thing we're missing is a villain number. We technically get a rap number about how bad he is, and it isn't good, but it is stuck in my head. I mean, the dude rides in on a skeleton-drawn chariot. You could totally make a good song out of this.
Oh, if I catch one of you jumping magpies singing, I'm gonna turn you into one of my bony mutes, you hear me? No more singing!
Skeletrix and his Bone Brigade have enslaved the human race, and we need your help.
What are you talking about?
Bonies are slaughtering humans by the millions, taking their bones and using them to make more bone soldiers, and more important, fleets of bone cars. What friggin' bonies?
I'm legitimately considering cutting some of these I think you should leave clips, but they're so goddamn applicable.
Parker, you can have a bite.
Oh, yeah?
One bite, Parker.
Okay, dude, yeah, I know that, okay? I'm not some kind of terrible... Parker?
Dylan, I'm going to eat the whole thing.
The villain of this place also hates musicals, bridging a correlation between Josh and him. He has a cold, dead heart that he won't let any wonder of music inside. We get imagery of Josh's creepy visage turning into the corpse owner guy in the mirror. Yet again, if I had seen this episode as a kid, I'd never be able to get it out of my head. Just like these catchy songs.
Sing, 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 everybody sing. Sing, 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 everybody singing.
Yes, Josh chooses to let the music in and defeat the tyrannical music-hating monster. Then we get a closing number with all the beloved characters we met in the series singing. Hey look, it's the tapeworm guy. Good. Keep beating that freak. So like, was this the last episode? It is, on a technicality, the second to last episode, like airing order wise, but I think it's a much better ending. I think every series from here on out should end with a musical episode. I think it should be mandatory by law.
Don't you mean EPS-IO'd?
That's not a word.
Well, that's what the sign says.
I'm heading back to the bridge, and this better be fixed the next time I come back. And I will come back.
Cute and cuddly boys.
Weird choice, I know. Penguins of Madagascar, the show, is a CG animated spin-off of the DreamWorks movie Madagascar. Before Netflix, Nickelodeon is where all these DreamWorks shows would go. I remember them fondly, or rather, I remember remembering them fondly. I picked this show over other ones because no one really talks about it at all, and it was really hard to do research on this show, where every time I would search it up, results for the movie made after would come up. But that raises the question, did they make that movie because of the popularity of the spin-off show, or did they just make that movie as a spin-off of the popular already Madagascar movies? What makes it stand out from the other DreamWorks spin-offs on the network later or around the same time is that it doesn't feature the four main characters. The entire cast is made up of side characters from the movies. It got the funny penguins, the funny creatures. You can pretend like I Like to Move It didn't sweep the nation. Doesn't make it true. I mean, this show ran for multiple seasons, all with a decent amount of episodes under their belt. But tale as old as time for this video, only the third season is currently on Paramount Plus, which is strange because it's the worst one. Like, if they only had the first season, it would still be dumb, but it would make slightly more sense. But I found a way. I always find a way. I did, in fact, watch every single episode of the Penguins of Madagascar show. We were nearing the end of my journey, and I was already pretty burnt out from watching exclusively Nickelodeon shows from my youth for, like, months. I did watch every single episode, and I only watched the episodes, no multitasking, but my attention wanders. This doesn't mean I'm not interested, it just means I have ADHD. And I watched the episodes in bulk over the span of a couple days. And it's not a bad show. It's just a little generic and formulaic. Like, I don't know if I'd call it boring either. Let's use a nicer word. Let's call it relaxing. So while my brain was fried and I was spending my days watching exclusively the Penguins of Madagascar and nothing else, stuff started to kind of glaze over and my mind became cloudy. And then something strange would happen in the show and I would get snapped back to reality immediately and wonder if what I just saw actually happened or if my brain made it up.
What, this? We need it for playing Gabagool.
Perhaps it's a regional game specific.
Go!
Sorry. I did just hear Gabagool, right? Like, I know I have Gabagool constantly repeating in my head, but that was in the show.
Network hacked. I am so leet.
Wait a minute, did he just say I am so leet? Like it's 2006?
That's not gonna happen. Local climate change. Ha! I call local climate change the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on the penguin populace.
That one may seem strange, but I actually caught the entirety of this episode and it had my attention. This entire season 3 double-length episode is all about the penguin's selfishness resulting in the planet dying and them all knowing scientifically the planet is dying, but Skipper not acknowledging it, that they have ruined their planet with their hedonistic lifestyle because he wants to continue to live said lifestyle. This is a Madagascar spinoff. And there's more. I don't want my entire review to just be a funny clip compilation, but so many times this show caught me off guard and stopped me dead in my tracks. The ice rink episode made me do a double take multiple times.
I wear glasses even though I don't need them, because I'm ironic.
We should cut our losses and go home now before we sink even deeper into this quagmire.
I'm Glenn Quagmire.
Kowalski, what's with all the negative Nelly-nattering?
It's also refreshing to hear the word natter actually used by someone that isn't me, because I picked it as a pun for, I mean, that's what the show is called. But no one ever uses that word.
That's right. Groom me. Groom me like you mean it. Give me all the grooming you've got. All right, he's private number 2. I like number 2.
Mort is... Well, Mort is a character on the show.
You can stop.
Gungaga. One more. I know I've only been showing clips and there's no substance to this, but just one more, okay? I haven't even gotten to the one that has stopped me dead in my tracks and I had to rewind multiple times to make sure it was real.
What the deuce?
I talk a lot about the concept of looping ironic comedy because it's really interesting to me, where something can be funny and then eventually become unfunny, but then for a certain period of time becomes so unfunny that it loops back around to being funny again. The only places I have ever heard the term "what the deuce" is Stewie Family Guy saying that because it's his catchphrase, and people purposefully doing a bad Stewie impression saying "what the deuce" as like a joke about how dumb that catchphrase is. So imagine my shock and rush of horror when I heard that term coming from my monitor. I thought I hallucinated it, like legitimately. I'm something we in the cartoon community like to call annoying. Every time I hear a voice I think I recognize, I immediately, out loud, as loudly as possible, say the voice actor I think it is. I watch these alone, so I said them out loud to myself. And you got your basics. Hey, it's Dana Snyder. Hey, that pigeon is doing the Boog voice from Femboy and Cum Cum. Hey, that's Joan from Clone High. But then you start to recognize a pattern with the guest characters. Obviously, John DiMaggio is here. He's appeared in multiple shows I've talked about tonight, and I keep bringing him up over and over. He's great. He's at his best when he's playing characters who only really speak in gibberish, which is why he's playing Rico. For Source, see Schnitzel. But hearing John made me think back, yeah, he was in El Tigre, but he also voiced those neighbor kids from Catscratch, and for you, it may have been only like an hour or so. But for me, it's been it's been over a month since I finished Catscratch, and now I'm kind of missing it. You know, I haven't watched it in a while. I watched it all at once. I overdosed on it, and now I'm thinking about it a lot, and I'm like, I want more Catscratch content. I miss it, you know? So I started thinking more about Catscratch. And then I started to listen to Penguins more.
Hey, just give it up, hairball. You've never caught a bird in your life. Never have, never will.
I wish for a bird that can't fly away. And I also wish the shooting star doesn't hit me. Yeah!
Not only is that the voice of Mr. Blick, but he's also playing a cat again who has a relation to the moon in a completely separate show made years later.
Now, my little friend, as I was saying, I'm
annoying. Get my lunch. Flies, lightly sauteed. Thank you.
And that's Waffle. And then there's an episode later about a kid who loses her dolly, and I could be completely wrong, I haven't confirmed it yet, and maybe just all kid characters sound the same, but it sounded a lot like the human Kimberly. Now, I'm not saying the Penguins of Madagascar television show was used as a backdoor reunion for the Catscratch boys to all come together again and get more Catscratch content. However, we're very starved of Catscratch content, so I'm going to enjoy it while I can. Wrapping up in 2013, being the only show that wasn't doomed to have its final season on Nicktoons Network, I would say Nickelodeon has turned over a new leaf, but this is definitely only because of that DreamWorks money. I know that was a long-ass preamble, if you even count that as the preamble, but I'm building up to a much larger shock. It's not crazy for voice actors to appear in an animated show. That is literally their job. But sometimes you recognize people who aren't voice actors.
Partying till dawn with bro pants on. Woo!
Is that Jerry Trainer?
Becky, we have visitors! Visitors? Sweet! Super sweet! Super sugary sweet! Hey, I'm Marlene. Marlene! I'm Becky. And I'm Stacy.
And that's... wait a minute. That's Jeanette McCurdy. I don't know if you guys have read Jeanette McCurdy's book like I have, and by read, I mean I listened to it, because I don't read. Do you really think I would have gotten this book if it didn't have pictures in it? Not to bring the mood down, but Jeanette was struggling with identity issues and an eating disorder, and it didn't help that the character she played on iCarly was this brutish tomboy who really loved food. I just bring it up because in this, the one episode she appears in, she plays another brutish bully girl, and I don't think that's the Penguin team's fault. I imagine they had this character and the Nickelodeon was like, oh, we got the perfect girl for you. She loves working with us. However, none of these actors are voice actors, and to the layman, they seem more or less the same thing, but they couldn't be more or less not the same thing. Voice acting and acting are not the same thing. They're not the same job. That being said, actors are constantly cast in animated movies because their names sell tickets. But anyone who watches cartoons on the reg, that's short for on the regular, knows that actors cannot hold a candle to voice actors in this department. Live action actors have to do voiceover all the time. Every movie has ADR, but it's still not the same. It's hard for them to replicate their normal performance because acting is subtle. Voice acting is not. Voice acting is bombastic. With the exception, of course, of Will Arnett, Matthew Lillard, and you know what? I'll say it, Vin Diesel. I think everything he's been a voice actor in has been good, and I think he does a good job. He's not a good actor, but I think he's a good voice actor. He should pivot. Even Madagascar, the movie this show is based on, utilized an A-list at the time cast of actors. I mean, Ben Stiller, Chris Rock, Jada Pinkett Smith. I don't think we're gonna get a new Madagascar movie.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
You may have noticed that this review is very unfocused. I'm not really explaining the plot or characters like I did for all the other shows. I'm working off the assumption that nobody has heard of these Nicktoon shows, but everyone all over the world has seen Madagascar, and I have seen the viewership on I Like to Move It, okay? I know that's true. I assume you all know Skipper, Kowalski, Rico, Private, Mort, Maurice, King Julian, those British monkeys, very extremely well. The show seems like a spin-off of side characters from the movie that are used for comic relief, which is normally a huge red flag. Comic relief characters often work because they give us a break from the plot. They're there for support. But once you make the comic relief character an important part of the plot, the main character of the movie, you get Cars 2. The movie everyone's making memes about, like, Cars 1 and Cars 3 is just about dumb races. Cars 2 is about epic spies and cool cars and cool guns. Talking like it's not the worst Pixar movie. You absolute children. My favorite pastime is getting mad on the internet about stuff that doesn't matter. However, this does not apply to DreamWorks. Oh, what, you're gonna make a sequel to a spin-off series about a comic relief side character from Shrek? Yeah, I bet that'll go very well. Best movie of ever, all time. The difference there is Puss in Boots isn't the main source of comedy in the Shrek movies. The main comic relief character is Donkey. And of course, Eddie Murphy wants his own spin-off because Donkey is funnier than Puss in Boots, but he's missing the point. Because being a comic relief character, being a funny character is not what makes Puss in Boots work. Similarly, the Penguin show works because the Penguins are used for jokes in the Madagascar movies, but they're not the main source of comic relief. They are their own characters. The comic relief characters are the native mammals. But then after the ending of the Penguins of Madagascar show, they made a spin-off of the spin-off for Netflix, All Hail King Julian, which is only about those comic relief characters, and it doesn't work. You need balance. You need some well-rounded characters. You need Borat back. Bring him back. Second video this year, I mentioned Borat. It's going to be the new Community clips. I just brought that up as an example because I didn't love Penguins, but clearly it could be so much worse. I didn't love watching the show, but it wasn't terrible. It was perfectly passable. It's fine. But that makes it even stranger. I know it sounds really jealous or whatever, but that show ran for far longer than any of the other shows I talked about, with the exception of SpongeBob, obviously. And it's like the most generic one. We talked about the internet presence thing earlier when we talked about SpongeBob, and obviously memes doesn't necessarily make something good, but the internet presence is an interesting way to test the community. But I always see clips or memes or reaction images posted of these characters from this show, so I kept my eyes peeled to see if I could spot any of them. And then I quickly realized that Madagascar memes and jokes on the internet actually have nothing to do with the actual Madagascar properties and are just random absurdities. You want to know how many memes or reaction images I found in this show? One. This image of Skipper when he's watching the TV full of a bunch of funny animal clips, that is the only one I recognized. I was so excited, I jumped up and down in glee when I saw this because it's pretty late into it and I hadn't seen anything else yet. I can't move it anymore. Mrs. Obama, get down. What kind of music do you like, Gloria? Hippo hop, Afro Circus, Megalovania. You drove over 80 miles per hour. That's illegal. I want the Penguins community to know, if you guys are out there, that I absolutely love all of this. We don't need compilations of funny clips or out of context moments. We need more made up, absurd comedy. All right, keep doing this. Don't ever let anyone tell you to stop. But if you do ever want to use clips from the series as reaction images or memes, feel free to use any of the ones I showed earlier. Make it spread like wildfire.
The female of the species, any species, who is understanding them? Excuse me. I hear you, brother.
Is there a quote I don't know about? Like every Nickelodeon show has to have one instance, at least one, of the character being like a boomer comic. Oh yeah, I have Wi-Fi, a Wi-Fi hate. Now you may be asking, was that really the last show? What a strange selection. And that's fair, and I did want to talk about more forgotten shows from around when I was watching. The Mighty Bee is one of Nick's best shows. Back at the Barnyard is always critically panned, but it can't actually be that bad. Brain Surge was like a weird nightmare I think I had, and True Jackson VP ends in the most insane way possible. And I even wanted to talk about how me and my friends at the time rediscovered old shows. I think a really interesting part about streaming and trending shows is how a completely new group of people can all rediscover an old show and watch it for the first time at the same time. As annoying as Netflix is all of the time, they are the most popular one. It was a lot of fun in the 20s when Netflix added Seinfeld, Community, and Avatar for like the first time around the same time, and seeing a bunch of new people experiencing it and all posting about it live on the internet. It was as if these shows had come out for the first time and a whole new group of people were experiencing them. Right now, the South Park community is getting really mad that a bunch of new children are entering the community. Is like, oh, these guys are ruining South Park. But I think it's really cool that a whole new group of kids are like, oh, what's this show? And they're getting like actually very invested in it, and which is good because there's like a 25 seasons worth of a backlog. Seinfeld had a renaissance and people were posting about it like it was coming out for the first time, like it was just premiering. And this happened to me and my friends in 6th grade. Teen Nick would always rerun all of their older shows, even after they had already ended, which at the time, without going out and buying physical media, was hard to find and watch. So in the year either 2012 or 2013, me and all my closest friends would go home from school and watch a new to us episode of The Amanda Show, which ended in like early 2000s or like late 90s, like it was the first time it was coming out, because for us it was. My entire friend group would hop on the bus and talk about the new episode of a 90s sketch comedy show that ended forever ago, and we would all quote jokes we heard that week and talk about the funny man on the phone and talk about how boring we thought Moody's point was. Also happened to me in 12th grade, but it wasn't accidental. I brute forced it. I forced all of my friends to watch Xavier Renegade Angel for the first time, and really, one of the only things I remember from senior year is me and my friend group all constantly quoting Xavier quotes back and forth to each other. Aside from that, I was just like on Reddit all the time. 2019 was a weird time. Anyway, I didn't talk about any of those shows, even though I basically just did, because I had to be sure that I was able to talk about the shows I talked about specifically. With the exception of Making Fiends, I knew regardless of the category I was going for, I had to talk about Making Fiends because it's the most popular one and also my favorite, and I distinctly remember it and I had to prove it was real. No, I chose to talk about SpongeBob Season 4 to 6, Catscratch, Tigre, Penguins of Madagascar, and a show about a fast food restaurant, for a very specific reason. In a retrospective like this, you're supposed to talk about extra stuff, flash games, actual video games, toys you can buy at the store. But if we're going back in time to relive my childhood in a sad attempt to make adult me feel happiness again, then we gotta do it right. We gotta talk about a very important part of the viewing experience from when I was a kid. Hey kids. Hey kids, what's for dinner? If all this is just a pursuit of nostalgia, of trying to regain childhood innocence, of trying to relive that childhood, of trying to put yourself in that mindscape of what I was thinking at the time, this is a crucial part of that experience. Because it wasn't just about watching cartoons 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. It's also about playing with them. The thing about that is, I didn't have a lot of normal toys as a kid. I was big into like collecting stuff, and also I got into games very early. What I did have a whole bunch of was McDonald's toys. Me and my two sisters, if we were well behaved, every couple weeks we would get a Happy Meal, and we would put our brains together and combine our collections to see if we could fill out this Happy Meal toy collection, because we knew each category of toy only lasted about a month and we needed to have all of them. I wouldn't say I have a comprehensive knowledge on all McDonald's toys from 2008 to 2010. I'm just saying I probably know more than most people do off the top of my head, which is a dangerous amount. The reason I chose Mr. Meaty as well as just wanting to talk about it is because it perfectly translates over to this fast food dynamic. When I was a child, I had a large trash bag full of McDonald's toys I had accumulated. At some point, I lost them. I think my parents gave them away, which I never forgave them for. Do I have to lean into this character?
You wanna know how I got this makeup on my face?
My father didn't like me playing with fast food toys. Can you even see me? I collected a lot of stuff as a kid. I fancied myself a collector, but throughout growing up, I gave away all my Webkins, I gave away all my figures, all my Pokemon cards, and all my McDonald's toys, but now I am an adult with my own income. I know it doesn't look like it. So I have the ability to slowly, over time, find every single McDonald's toy I had as a kid and bid on them, mostly on eBay, to try and slowly get them back. This is not a cheap venture. Could this even count as a business expense? I don't know if this is going to be a reoccurring bit, but I would like to chronologue this journey that we're all going to take together, whether you want to or not. It's really just a matter of how often I want to put on and take off this makeup. Yay! We've got a lot of different categories, but I say we just go in numerical order with 2007 Catscratch toys.
I'm itching to get to McDonald's now that crazy Catscratch toys are here. I can get one of these toys in my Happy Meal. Perfect.
These are all sealed. I left them all sealed. I got them like this. Well, not all of them. I jumped the gun on that. So there was an internal argument about whether they are worth more or more rare if they're in their packaging, and I eventually landed on the fact that they aren't rare at all. They're just plastic trash. But there's also no reason for me to keep them in the packaging, but I do want to preserve this to a sense, so I decided I'll just open them and review them. Like this, on this video, completely sidelining my original point. This pile you're seeing in front of me, and hopefully the little visual behind me, it had 2 plastic Mr. Blick toys, 2 plastic Waffle toys, 1 plastic Gordon toy, and the rest were plushies of the 3 with different expressions. I did have to draw the line somewhere, so I didn't get every single plushie, but also most of them are just the same pose with a slightly different stitched face, so I got what I could. Also, with one of the Waffle toys, they lumped in a little G.I. Joe toy. Not really worth my time, but I didn't feel like throwing it away. Really just a matter of which one I'm gonna start with. Ooh. These are from 2007. I feel like I did mention that when Catscratch was in its height. Oh, they're numbered too, so you gotta collect them all. I fear that if I open these, they're gonna release like toxic fumes. Like these haven't been opened and oh my god, that's been so much time. I think actually, if I'm looking at the guide correctly, then Armpit Waffle is the first, even though it's not actually in its packaging. I can't decide whether or not I want to do Jacket or not. I think Jacket draws the whole Joker thing together, but I feel like the Ronald McDonald Joker thing is a little derivative. It's been done to death. You'll notice this is an actual McDonald's packaging, one of the very few that isn't sealed, but I'm gonna play with it in a fruitless attempt to relive my childhood, to make myself happy. This video has taken a turn for the sad, a turn for the worse. My question is, okay, well, I don't think you can put batteries in these things, but it has a little switch on the back, meaning it'll do something, but if it runs off of just an internal battery that you can't change, I imagine it must be dead by now. But also, wait, it was resealed, so it's definitely been used. It's on. It's not doing anything. What does it... Okay, so this moves. Does it make like fart noise? Is it supposed to make fart noises? Like he goes brr, brr, bonk. I got a nice little, what would you call it? What's something you put on top of books to hold them down? Or like, it's a paperweight. I got a nice little Waffle paperweight. I'm a fan of Waffle, I'll take it. First actual McDonald's package. That ripped open real easily. Oh, they have the little, okay, instructions, here we go. Now you'll notice here, the instructions look pretty violent. I get it, you move them, you stretch them. I've stretched plenty of cats in my day. You gotta say, ooh, big stretch when you do it. Oh. Okay, is this, I don't even know if you're gonna be able to see this, but once you stretch it, his eyes light up. It's like a creepy little, can we shut off all the studio lights and just have this? I'm the only one here. Well, comparing these two so far, I probably would have liked this one more had it worked. But, oh, he's got like a little, wait a minute. Can you crank his tail? He's got, like, can you wind him up? This one at least works. I thought it would like stretch farther, but I feel like I'm gonna break it, you know? Yeah, I'm definitely gonna break this thing. Let's get Gordon in here. There's only one plastic Gordon toy. I think plushie-wise, I got one of each. No, I got 2 Waffles. I don't really know how that turned out, but I guess Waffle's my favorite. I like you guys, but Goobler is my favorite. Oh. It's not actually gross. I'm being dramatic. What are the instructions for... No, there's definitely like a... Can you see that? The little stain on it? That little boogie. Preserved. This thing was sealed too, so put it down. Okay, so let me show you this again. I think the way the toy works is you put his thing down, his visor down and up, and I guess it changes his expression, much like the plushies that just have a different expression. Oh. I imagine, like, this suit of armor probably appeared in, like, a throwaway joke, and Waffle does fart his armpit a lot, but aside from that, none of these have really been tied to the show. Like, it would have been a cool reference if one of these was his, allergic broccoli monster version, but it's not. It's him happy, him slightly less happy, him mad. Alright, so there's 3. I watched the entire show. I don't think Mr. Blick has ever glowed his eyes once. Oh, unless it's a Sans reference. Do we want to do a plush now? I feel like let's bust, because this isn't, McDonald's package. The thing about these toys is that, I mean, you could play with them like toys, like they're literal, like, ooh, look at me, I'm Waffle, I can't do the voice. But beyond that, they have no practical use. I gotta go through a lot of these, actually, so... Should I don't need a whole diatribe about each one, okay? Waffle plushie, though, part of my collection, part of a balanced breakfast. See, they're technically a healthy food establishment because they have milk sometimes. Ah, yar. I don't know what this Mr. Blick does. Mr. Blick surprise. Monsieur Blick surprise. Okay, well, the only thing different was Mr. I guess because, yeah, Blick wouldn't be a word. If his name was Mr. Black like it was in the comic, then it would be... What's the word for black in French? No, this is an insane visual. Me on a Wednesday. Am I right, boys? Ronald wouldn't approve of this. Okay, he goes Awooga. This is an Awooga toy. Me when I see mommy milkers. Woo, Awooga. Almost like the delicious milk that you can get from a Happy Meal. I really gotta stress, this is not a sponsored thing. I just have a problem. Dancing waffle toy. I'll be the judge of that. I shouldn't have... Okay. Self-explanatory. You give him a purple nurple and then he spins. He does a little dance, a little waffle dance. Having a little Morty sleep. So is it a wind-up shit? Oh, hold on. I'm gonna spend the next 20 minutes winding this thing up. Alright, it's cracking, so... I don't know why I thought this would make me happy. Alright, let's do Gordon plush. I think we started with Gordon anyway. No, we started Waffle. Waffle, 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 junior, double, triple, waffle. It goes without saying, but I didn't script this portion because I wanted my genuine thoughts on all of them. And look at this guy, my genuine thoughts on this. Wow. Great job. I know it's been in the packaging, but it's also probably been beat to the shit. I don't know how they got it in the packaging. Why they have McDonald's toys that they never opened, but they're like, oh, we'll sell it on eBay. But it's like surprisingly soft. Let me try the waffle one. Yeah, they're both like decently soft. If I was legally allowed to have an animal, I would definitely feed those to it. We need a Mr. Blick plush. I know he's number 6. I'm going off track. I just want them all to feel equal because they're brothers. I really like this one. Mr. Blick doesn't really smile big, so... He's supposed to be like this, like his smile, it's not a mouth agape, it's just like a fucking Cheshire cat smile on the top of his long body. But because his mouth is open, it just he kind of looks like his face covers his whole body. He's significantly shorter and wider than he normally is, but I love this one for it. Mr. Blick has never been this happy in his life, and neither have I, but oh, he's got a little zigzag tail. Let me just, I didn't just buy the toys for this, I also bought this table for this bit. Final Waffle, what is he called? Waffle plush toy. It's like hard, oh. Ew, oh. Are they both like that? No, this one's like significantly more. Oh, I guess that's just the material, but it's like still weird. The slightly like blue parts here, like this is it's got a weird texture and it's like hard. Like, if it's a plush that doesn't have any, like, button eyes, it shouldn't do that. Question is, which one is your favorite? Which one would you choose more? trust more. Inside you, there are 2 wolves. One of them... Alright, let me be like one of those toy review channels. There's a guy I found while doing this whole expedition who, he like reviews McDonald's toys, and I came across this video where he was talking about Ned at the Museum toys. Just play the clip. I really love this clip.
Tell me that doesn't sound silly. Let's listen again. That is so awesome.
He's just having like a great time. And I can't even blame him for it, because I'm having a great time right now. Look at this. Look at this family. Look at this collection here. I feel 1/4 of my soul has come back, but we need more room. Now those ones I remember seeing, but I never actually had. These next ones, I wasn't even sure who the character was, but I knew I had this toy. I distinctly remember the sharp edges.
Mutual action, mutual adventure! I've been joining the crazy excitement with Manny, Rivera, aka El Tigre. Now I can get one El Tigre action figure inside my McDonald's Happy Meal.
This one only has 4, and I don't mean I only got 4. I mean, like, show the thing. When they were released, it was only 4 toys. I think it still ran for, like, a normal amount of time. It could have done, like, half, like, maybe a couple weeks as a limited thing, but... I proved it exists. I found a commercial. I guess we'll do them by number. We start with the main character, Manny Rivera, also known as El Tigre. Oh, wait a minute. Give me that arc reactor, Spider-Man. I'll tear it out of your chest. This is cool. I like this. It's like, oh, and the... It's such a little detail, but you could spin his little T. His belt. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's accidental and it just broken, but I like to think it's a little detail because he's got like the Wumbo belt. Like he spins it to become El Tigre. I legitimately like this. Like the other ones, I didn't dislike, but I was like, you know, Catscratch. Why would you buy a fidget toy when I could just sit at my desk and spin Manny's hand, his claw, when I get stressed? Which is right now. Just for historical record, I'll show it to you. I just didn't want to ruin the surprise. Joined by his father, White Pantera. I can't remember if I had this one. It feels slightly familiar, if that makes sense. Like I got, muscle memory. The question is, what does he do? Oh, he's doing a little 2-step. Caught my dog doing a little 2-step like it was nothing. See? He's got a little dancing action. You know what? I'm impressed. Or at least I feel better about these ones. The Catscratch toys, I like the plushies. I like that they lean into the soft cat thing. And they had like jokes, but I don't know. Whoever made these toys, it was a fucking like Chinese conveyor belt sweatshop company. Who is in charge of these toys? I don't know. Kids who get paid like $1 a day. If they weren't gonna sponsor me before, they're definitely not going to now. I'm just saying that it's cool that his little claw, which is Manny's power, and his T can spin, and then this seems like a dumb toy, but if you watch the show, I didn't really explain it, but his power is running. His shoes make him run fast. There's a red hair on the table. Who could this be? And his evil grandfather, El Puma Loco. He looks like Kirby in this. Does he actually look like that? Jesus Christ, look how agape this dude is. He is ready for cream. Cut that part out, please. Okay, this one, a little less so than the other two. Oh, but they have the bird! Similar to most of these tertiary animal characters in El Tigre, this bird fucking dies before the show ends. It's not focusing. Hold on. Focus. There's too much shit going on, but you get it, right? You see the vision here. Again, it's just fidget toys. I'm gonna sit at my desk, not doing any work, and just give myself sensory overload. Oh, it's caught in my hair. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. All right, well, an accessory then. Great. I'm gonna show you guys this is what I was talking about, that he looks like Kirby. You see what I mean. You see the vision. So this one, I'm fairly kind of certain, maybe, that I may have had this one. May have had El Puma Loco. That's probably how I got into the show, but I am certain I had this. The least important character in this bunch. You'll notice I barely mentioned him. He's like one of the dudes who is obsessed with Frida, but beyond that, I mean, he's a funny guy, but I don't know if he specifically deserved his own toy. Especially because I just said Frida out loud, and now I'm realizing they didn't make a Frida toy. No girls allowed. Oh, probably because, oh, okay. Back in the day, antiquated, I know, McDonald's had a boys' toy and a girls' toy running at the same time. I think they did around this time, so I think the boys' toy was El Tigre, which is why there was only 4. There was like 4 of each. But if it was like a big brand, they would be doubled back to 8. Anyway, this is what I meant. I remember the sharp edges for sure, and it moves like pretty good. It takes a petting like nothing. That's the little nerd character, the one that likes Frida. I'm only gonna do this once because I'm not gonna run around looking for this thing. All right. So I just want to make sure you can see this. Can you see this? Okay, you face there. How about here? We'll do it here. We all lined up. Perfect. Go forth. I thought that was gonna shoot up way farther. Is there a way I can... No. Okay. I thought... Well, let me tell you a joke, Murray. What do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash? I'll tell you what you get. You get what you fucking deserve, Murray. It's caught on my... Never mind. Yay, El Tigre. El Tigre. I'm gonna have to shower after this. You know what? Just as a little bonus breather in between, I'll open up the G.I. Joe toy. Alright, I've made my decision. It says 3+, which is good because I'm older than that. Oh, this one actually might have some shit to it. Oh, this is the live-action G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra movie. I distinctly remember seeing this in theaters with my grandpa and falling asleep during it. And this is at the point where I was a kid, where I thought all movies were awesome. Another McDonald's story, if we do want to get into the nostalgia of it all. Yo. Now you could be just like Snake Eyes. Aren't they like, as of right now, 2023, still working on a spin-off of this movie starring Snake Eyes? Is that true? When we did the movie videos on the channel, I tried to continue the tradition of going to McDonald's and then a movie, and I did that in high school a lot too, but mostly because as a kid I would go with my grandpa all the time. We would hit up McDonald's, you know, get a Happy Meal, throw some fries to the geese until the geese attacked me, and they were like my height too, so it was like Godzilla versus just a really tall child. But I distinctly remember that day I got a little Happy Meal toy, and it was, I want to say her name is Sally, the one that shits on Lightning McQueen's face from Cars. I got that toy, and then we went to go see Cars later that day. I don't want to dedicate too much time to this because clearly this is not why any of you are here. I know you all clicked on this video to watch me review Catscratch McDonald's toys. Unfortunately, I'm sidelined with whatever this G.I. Joe shit is. I don't know if I'm, like, I feel like I'm sneezing and coughing because of all the decade-old, if not more, plastic bags of plastic toys I'm opening, but I'm sure plastic fumes are a normal thing to inhale. Well, I just dropped that. I feel like I'm losing my voice, but it also may just have something to do with, you know, the fumes I just talked about. I'm gonna hit a button and it's gonna do something. Oh, straighten it out. Is that what it does? Okay, so you push them down and then hit the button to straighten them out. Wow. Me when I erect penis? Come on, McDonald's, you don't want to sponsor the guy who's just said erect penis? We're gonna switch things up.
Howdy, partner. I reckon you want to know more about the new SpongeBob SquarePants Pest of the West toys, available only at Burger King. You can round up one toy with every kid's meal. They're the most wanted toys this side of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Don't forget about those great choices, like chicken tenders, low-fat milk, and applesauce. Tune in to Pest of the West on Friday, April 11th at 8 p.m., only on Nickelodeon. I love that little sponge.
How would I put this thing on over the my real natural hair I dyed and grew out for this video? Or wait, do I put it in like this? This might make more sense. It's like there's fucking red hairs in my face and paint in my nose. Can you even... There we go. It's me, the Burger King. As a kid, I loved SpongeBob more than any of these shows, really, and I've mentioned that, obviously. The SpongeBob I watched when I was a kid most excited is 2008 onward, as well as the other stuff tied to it. The thing is, though, I went to McDonald's. We were a McDonald's household, but SpongeBob was never a McDonald's guy. They had a lot of Burger King toys, though. I definitely never had any of these multiple SpongeBob Burger King toys they used to market Pest of the West, coming soon to a television close by you, in your house. I just licked my lips and I have paint all over them. I do remember the one Burger King toy, or maybe two, I guess, Burger King toys I ever got was a Danny Phantom toy. Not sure which one. I think it was his friend, his other male friend that wasn't the goth girl. I only know them by that name. And they did a Pokemon promotion where they gave out cards, and it was like a Manaphy card holder clamp, and I also got a Mantike, which I still have, little Mantike plushie. My crown fell. The only thing before doing this research that I associated with McDonald's and Burger King is the notorious Spongy Got Back ad.
I like square butts and I cannot lie. Squid and sea star can't deny. When a sponge walks in, 4 corners in his pants like he got phone book implants, the crowd shouts. All the ladies stare. Dang, those pants are square.
Yeah. I remember, I mean, I watched Adult Swim a lot as a kid, even though, you know, it's for Burger King children's meal and it's SpongeBob, but I only ever saw that on Adult Swim, and even then I was like, all right, weird. But also there was a parody of that same song on Robot Chicken, so I knew it pretty thoroughly. And there was a whole outrage on the news about like, hey, this isn't appropriate for children. And I am not the kind of person to get involved in like, ooh, think of the children. But they're probably right. But I mentioned this earlier, it's really a differentiation of fetishes as opposed to like jokes. Like when you see a butt as a kid, it's like, haha, butts are funny. Butt poopy, haha, funny, stinky. But as an adult, you're like, I would like to fillet that butt. Well, I don't know anything about this. You're out of your element, kid. I ordered all these separately. One of these is not in a package, so I'll just show you this now. I don't think he does anything. He just stands there and has a little hay thing in his tooth. Toothpick makes all the difference. And one of them came with this, which isn't a Burger King toy. It's like a Valentine's Day themed SpongeBob keychain ornament without a nose. I imagine it probably had a nose when they got it, but I didn't know this was a part of the deal, but I appreciate it. It's going in the G.I. Joe pile. This isn't even a McDonald's toy. I don't need this thing. If the clown didn't approve of it, or the king, then I do not care. Couldn't help but notice, though, that all these other ones have little stands that I think you may be able to connect together. This one does not, so this is an incomplete set. Can't tell if this is like actual, it's gotta be actual McDonald's packaging, because the Pest of the West thing is printed on the bag, but this doesn't feel, oh, it's because it's Burger King, that's why I'm unfamiliar. Because it was sacrilegious. I have brand loyalty. I know I'm a brand risk, but if you want to like pay me to eat nuggets or something, I would definitely do that. So these aren't numbered, so I can really just, let's go with, I just watched the special. I don't even remember what they called him. Plankton, but not Plankton. I know he's got a whip. I know they called him Planktonimore in Dungeons and Dragons, but that's the only one I remember because that's the one I liked. This thing's really itchy. 2007. New to DVD, April 15th. Oh, wait a minute. This is the DVD I have, right? I'm unraveling the history. Do I want to keep these? I could put these in the DVD box. I don't need the bag so much. Just get a good look at it. Take a picture, why don't you? The saying is take a picture, it'll last longer, but that's not what I said. Okay, so he gets placed on here. And stays. He's got like a whip. This is actually, I don't want to say really cool, because none of this is really cool. But he's got like a little whip. Can you even see it? It's like just, it's thread, it's a shoelace, but it's cool that instead of just having a plastic whip, they actually gave him a thing. They have numbers and it counts up to 10, and I think they all have them. I don't know what the purpose of that is. Is there like a game we're supposed to be playing? Attach your SpongeBob Pest of the West figure to its base. Play a dueling game of high-low with your friend. Spin the wheel and see what number it lands on between 1 and 10. Then have another player spin the wheel. If the wheel lands on the rope, spin again. The highest number wins. That's a very confusing way of describing the biggest number wins. Well, obviously we got to get more of these open then. I think I want to do the SpongeBob gang signs one. I'm a big fan of this. So I'm addicted to this. I probably do have a real-life McDonald's problem, but Michelle Obama can save me. God, can she save me. Do I want to keep, I don't need to keep all of them. I'm really just, I mean, this is all plastic. You guys hear that Funko is like dumping a bunch of their shit in a landfill. This is basically what this is, but at least it'll be in my room. The garbage won't be ruining the planet, cause it will be in my room. So he's doing the woo thing with his eyes. He's got little Tommy Pickles feet, like he's doing the ooh. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. That's gonna be a fucking meme. You guys aren't allowed to show anyone that. I thought it was part of the figure, but no, they're just like, he just came with his legs twisted. It's not supposed to be. It's a little confusing on how to put these things here. If you could just freely move the legs, it doesn't line up very well. There we go. There's a lot of SpongeBob, so let's get Sandy in on this mix. Did she have any lines in Pest of the West? It wouldn't make sense because she already has a southern accent. She's from Texas. Hey, Pat, what am I? Stupid. No, I'm Texas. What's the difference? Trash pile I got going on over there? Pretty severe. Where does this? Oh, the tail. Ew. Got a nut on a paper. She's got a nut on a paper. She's got a picture of a nut. She's got nut. I'm trying to glean some entertainment from this, but really, I wouldn't say a vanity project, but what is am I really chronicling anything? Oh, we gotta get the full history of this show. We gotta get this era down, all right? We gotta get the Burger King toys. No. Just an excuse for me to be a petulant child. So I think what this is trying to convey is that his drawers are like around his ankles, so he's waddling. I don't really understand the Pingu Newt mouth. Not super sure as to what this is meant to. Oh, his arm moves. They all have like certain things that kind of move. Plankton's got a whip. SpongeBob's arms and legs move. Sandy didn't really move, but she's got a picture with a nut on it. This one's got some, hold on. Hey parents, compliments of Burger King, special for you, $5 off on Nick Magazine. Hollywood Buzz the Bee movie. I did also have, it's not focusing at all, but that's fine. Oh, it's a book. Business reply mail. I don't think this is gonna work anymore, but I will put my address and resell this on eBay. I'll actually, I'll tweet it out. Point was I reaching? I feel like I was about to say something, but I didn't quite finish. Another Nick magazine. Okay, I don't need any of these, right? Explaining the rules. I know the rules. You hit a... Okay, I don't know the rules. Pretend I'm not here. Okay, well this dude's got a bunch of legs. I don't fully remember what Squidward looks like in the special, but he's just like, back here it's just like a white shirt, but when he's holding it, he just looks completely naked. Like it's just like a naked Squidward holding up an accordion to try and block his nudity from the world, but I see it. I see you. Also, perfect cross. X marks the spot. Don't eat the yellow sand, Patrick. Oh yeah, I forgot. How good is my Patrick voice, by the way? From like 1 to 10. It's really hot in this room, man. It's the road that you go when you die. I don't even need to look in here anymore. I know it's garbage. Trash. I know I just said I'm actually saving the planet by having... Oh, his feet were backwards again. By getting all these toys to me instead of a landfill. But I'm making like a lot of trash over there that I'm just gonna throw out in the packaging. To be fair, whoever bought them was probably gonna do the same thing. I'm not quite sure... I mean, I know it's meant to market the movie, but it's not exactly like for the movie, but all the other ones were characters. This isn't even... Like, this is just a Fry Cook SpongeBob. Or just a cook, which granted he is, and it does kind of look old-timey because he's got the belt. But beyond that, like, at least this one's a sheriff. Toothpick makes all the difference. And this one's a cowboy. Oh, this one's got detachable hat. Or the hat broke off. She beefing on my stroganoff. I'm gonna get you guys in on this, because the hat, right, has this little thing on it, but it's very smooth everywhere else. But there's nowhere to connect, like on his head. So I was like, oh, maybe it's broken off. But also it has little copyright shit, which you definitely can't read, but you see it's there. But it could have been broken off. Maybe the hat goes somewhere else? Oh, does he... Can I put it in his little hand? The poster shows him tipping his hat. It's not quite right, but I got the spirit. Now, here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna play a little game called I'm gonna spin all these numbers, and whoever has the highest number gets to survive. Getting this? It's important. It doesn't, like, spin as super advertised. 9. I gave him a lot of chances, but 9's a good start. All right, Pat Rick. That fuck-ass Bob. Yeah, like, spins once. 9. I'm sensing a pattern. Don't. 7. Okay, well, he's dead, right? Like, we know that. If you get a 10, though, you're killing these other guys. Can't beat a 10. That one spun way cleaner. Like, that's significantly more loose than the others. Oh, okay. I spun it again and it landed on a 1, so I'm glad I went through all that trouble of giving him the hat. The road we all want to go. It's got Mario, Princess Peach, and the Toad. Oh, this one's also pretty loose. There we go. 8. Unfortunately, that's not a high enough number, Plankton. Can we get a SpongeBob to survive? This, okay, that one's less loose than those, but more loose than these. I think maybe their stiffness helped them out a little bit. 7. Sandy has the potential to knock everyone else out of this competition. Loose number 2. I knocked him. Ah, Patrick wins. I'm having fun. I am. Don't get it twisted, all right? I'm enjoying myself. It's just that this thing is really itchy.
Did you know that secret agents need special skills to complete their missions? Like secrecy, speed, martial arts, using gadgets, and even more speed. Seek out your Penguins of Madagascar mission envelope at McDonald's and start your training.
Mission accomplished.
Some fun, some food, it's all inside this Happy Meal.
The interesting thing about all of these is that I didn't get all of them. I have 5. I did look for all of them, all right? It's not from lack of trying. This is the only selection of toys I actually could not complete the collection. So hey, if you're out there, I'll let you know which ones I'm missing. So we got Skipper Wheel. Okay, so there's one where Rico's sliding. It's number 2 on the thing. And he's got a disc in his mouth, I think. Kowalski, shoot gun radar thing. No, that's not it either. I feel like I did have that. Did I lose a bunch of these, like misplace them? 1, 7, 3, 4, 5. So I'm missing 2 and 6, which is Rico and... Wait, what? That's not right. This whole thing is wildly off course because this says 4, but on the visual, it's 6. Okay, well, I know the confusion. I was gonna wait, but let me explain. So these Penguins of Madagascar toys were originally released in 2010 to coincide with the show. Basically, what is the same toys were released again through McDonald's to market the movie as the movie was coming out. And you'll notice a lot of similarities between the toys. A lot of them were just reprints, if not all of them. Some of them were exactly the same. Others were the same toy, but just a different color. You'd think if they were released twice over multiple different months, it would have been easier to get all of them. But that's not what happened. They also have different packaging. First off, this private, I don't even know. Does it shoot water? I said it was hard to find all of them, and I was right. All right, this one, not in packaging and a little worse for wear. He's very, his eyes are worn down. He's a little creeped out. When it's blurry, you can't really tell how weird it looks. I feel like I can make fun of toy review channels all I want until the cows come home. But at the end of the day, I'm really just, how am I beyond Blippi? I gotta be honest, I'm not. I thought this would make me happy. And I'm not feeling happy. So then I went to the doctor. And I told him, Doc, I can't make myself feel happy. But he said, oh, it's okay, cheer up. The funny clown Ronald McDonald is gonna be in town soon. And I said, Doctor, I'm Ronald McDonald. Packaging is different on a couple of these. I mentioned private because I wanted to get him out of the way and he's very creepy. He's not in a package and he can't do much for us. 2 separate packages. These ones say Nickelodeon, Penguins of Madagascar. These ones say DreamWorks, Penguins of Madagascar. So these ones were released initially with the original packaging for the Nickelodeon show, and these were re-releases from the DreamWorks movie. This is the best we can do under our limits. This is still numbered 1 regardless, and it's Nickelodeon, so this is the first. I mean, there was no release order. They all came out at the same time, but this is technically the first one. Sorry, Skipper. Oh, there's a thing in here. Use this code to unlock a penguin surprise. Where? Like, it has the code, but like, type the code where? HappyMeal.com. Hold on. The odds of the Wayback Machine being able to bringuphappymeal.com from this time and let me use this code are very minuscule, but they're not zero. Get the latest Flash player. If you already have the latest Flash player. Okay, so I'll let you guys do this part. Here's your code. Here's your secret code. This is what you get for waiting through the whole video. A blurry code. You guys are gonna have to make out the rest. I think I can figure this out. He's on wheels. You can hear those wheels squeaking like a penguin. Okay, so hold on. Without the wheel, okay. Jesus Christ. I'm actually very excited about the prospect of this toy. You stop screaming. Shut up, shut up, shut up. All right, he's locked in, I think. Stop it. Tinker toy. I feel more like I guess the Joker would have done this. I'll give it one more shot. Take my hands off. Come on, Skipper, you can do it. I choose to believe that was a victory. You gotta take the small victories. If you don't, you're always gonna be unhappy. What character is this? Depressed clown? Number 3. Technically came after because it's part of the DreamWorks movie, but it's still a toy that they used previous. His head just opened out, that freaks me out. Does he shoot them out or he just holds them, huh? Wait. You seeing this? Get in there. Ugh. It's like Cramorant. I can store other stuff in here. Like, my pills. Well, this is cool. It's inventive, at least. It meshes with the character and the show. Because Private shooting water kind of makes sense. He's a penguin. Skipper on the wheel. I don't remember that. I watched the whole show. I didn't watch the movie, but the toy is from the show. Rico spitting up fish. That's like his whole thing. That's his whole MO. Let's zigzag back to the Nickelodeon toy. Let's see what Kowalski's got cooking. At least I have one of each of the penguins, at least. Now what does that mean? He stands on here, and then I try and, not like well, but is it supposed to be backwards? Maybe it's backwards, right? Regardless, it's not like centered, so he's not. What is the point? No, because, okay, they needed children to figure this out. I'm not a child, but one of his hole pegs is a circle, one's a triangle. One of these is a triangle, one of these is a circle. All right, I get it. However, so he does need to be backwards. He's just not sticking, you know? It's not sticking. And even when it does, it doesn't like jam in, so as soon as I let go, kind of defeats the purpose of being a catapult, huh? Toy review, bad toy. Don't love this one. Guess what, McDonald's toy from 2010? YouTuber BH Ultra thinks you're BH shit. There's so much trash over there. This is the final one. All we've been building up to. This is another example of one they re-released, but it's just a slightly different color. I like the little model they use of the creepy humanoid person on the left. Get your homunculus to look through the... Does it actually work? Which fucking penguin is this? Look how long this torso is. I'll give it that. Like, I keep wanting to... It looks straight to me. There's a bunch... I don't know how to convey this, but it definitely, yeah. I mean, it works. What I'm looking at is out of this. That's an interesting idea. The thing is, though, it's not direct. Like, I'm not looking through this and immediately seeing what comes out of here. There's a line of plastic, which I don't even think I'd be able to show you, no matter how close I got. The retractable thing is enough to make it fun. More fidget toys. So final consensus. I guess I was supposed to review them, but I really didn't. Some of these have references to the show and make sense thematically. Some of them are just random stuff. I think as far as collectibles, I mean, plastic stuff is cool, but I like the plushies more. I love the Gordon and Mr. Blick plushies. Probably the Mr. Blick one the most because of his funny looking face. Some of the toys are cool. I think the wheel one in concept is cool. I think all the El Tigre ones are cool. I wish his hat flew up a little higher, but what are you gonna do? Burger King ones are basically just figurines. Like, I know that's what most toys are now anyway, but really, like, the numbers are completely superfluous to what we're doing. Like, even the Catscratch toys that barely do anything, they still do something. Waffle dances. This is probably the weirdest one. But I'll give them points for being inventive. None of this was scripted, but I probably should have written, like, an outro or something. Something more than just an adult man dressing up like a freaky clown playing with McDonald's toys. I just hope I got you guys to see the light, you know? Unfortunately, Mr. Meaty and Making Fiends are not represented here, but you know what? Catscratch, Making Fiends, El Tigre, all great shows. Mr. Meaty, I think, is unfairly judged. I think later seasons of SpongeBob can be good on occasion. Penguins of Madagascar exists. When I was planning this out, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be a reoccurring segment, and I'm gonna keep doing this, but I really... This whole my face feel like, I don't know how I did this for the Babysitters of Vampire video. My face does not feel like mine.